Chapter 22. A Clown, a Clown. Tui. Zhuang Heba spat at Qin Hao and pointed at the traces of battle around them. 7 or 8 old trees were crooked, and ropes were wrapped around them. The White Ape King was also wrapped in rope. It was obvious that Qin Hao had not killed the White Ape King with his own abilities. He was far from Zhuang Heba's level. Zhuang Heba was the real deal. You're quite observant. Qin Hao did not deny it. Don't waste your time trying to confuse me. You don't even have the energy to breathe now. Zhuang Heba could see that Qin Hao had gone through a tough battle. He was now covered in blood and tattered. He might fall over with a gentle push. Your analysis is not bad. Qin Hao nodded. The battle with the White Ape King had been extremely dangerous, and he had wasted a lot of energy. But that was before he had broken through. Keep pretending, keep pretending. You're obviously scared to death when you see me, but you're still pretending to be calm. Do you know how many moves Zhuo Junchen took from me? Zhuang Heba raised 3 fingers and said disdainfully. He couldn't even take 3 moves and was crippled by one of my fingers. Are you stronger than that, Zhuo guy? You're not even on the same level. Qin Hao rubbed his nose and did not say a word. In fact, he really was not on the same level as Zhuo Junchen. Zhuo Junchen was not even qualified to carry his shoes. Don't worry. To thank you for killing the level 5 beast for me, I'll build you a tomb. Zhuang Heba licked his lips and raised his machete ferociously. You want to kill me? Qin Hao sneered. Zhuang Heba was furious. He dared to kill during a hunt. So what if I kill you? How can you compete with me in terms of strength, skills, and weapons? The winner is king. The stronger one has the final say. Lie down. Zhuang Heba could not be bothered to waste his breath. He endured the pain in his leg and raised his machete. The winner is king, is it? Comparing strength, skills, and weapons? Then let's start with weapons. Qin Hao did not dodge. The purple meteorite sword in his hand easily blocked the attack. Clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard. Zhuang Heba's eyes widened. He actually didn't manage to kill Qin Hao. However, when he saw the weapon in Qin Hao's hand, he couldn't help but laugh crazily. What the hell is that? A child's toy? Look at the thing in my hands, this is what a man should play with. Ha ha! Crack! A crack appeared on the blade, and Zhuang Heba's laughter stopped abruptly. The crack turned into a spider web and spread rapidly in front of Zhuang Heba's eyes. In the end, it covered the entire blade. Voila! The blades shattered all over the ground. What? Fear flashed through Zhuang Ji's 8 eyes. He quickly retreated, leaving only the bare saber hilt in his hand. This was a middle-grade refined weapon, which cost the Zhuang family 5 to 6 years of savings to buy from the city. Zhuang Ji was extremely proud of the fact that he had broken Zhuo Junchen's low-grade, refined weapon with a single strike. But he stared greedily at the purple meteorite sword in Qin Hao's hand. To be able to shatter a medium-grade sharp weapon, it was at least a high-grade sharp weapon. Qin Hao, that trash, even gave him a treasure before he died. Swish! Qin Hao swung his hand, and the purple meteorite sword turned into a beam of light and stabbed into a tree far away. He beckoned Zhuang Ji with his finger and said, "Kill me and it will be yours." Shameless boasting. Zhuang Ji's face was filled with ecstasy. Qin Hao, that trash, must have lost his mind. He actually didn't use a refined weapon. He was simply too stupid. Heart-piercing finger. Zhuang Ji's finger jabbed forward. He executed his prideful low-grade mist-class origin skill, which had once pierced through Zhuo Junchen's mountain-splitting palm. It's just an illusion. Qin Hao immediately saw through Zhuang Ji's finger art. He probably practiced it with cinnabar. He jabbed forward with his finger as well. Crack! 2 fingers intersected. Heaven grade against mystic grade. Phenomenal success against small success. Zhuang Ji let out a heart-wrenching scream. His entire index finger had been broken by Qin Hao. He had been practicing finger arts since he was young and had practiced for a total of 18 years. Now, his finger was broken. It could be said that Qin Hao's casual attack had destroyed all of Zhuang Ji's future prospects. Zhuang Ji's face was filled with disbelief. He had even forgotten about the pain. He looked at Qin Hao in fear. Was this still the cripple Qin from back then? Why was his finger art so similar to the heart-piercing finger? You still have one last chance. Qin Hao was expressionless. He beckoned Zhuang Ji's finger again. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I want your life. Zhuang Ji's eyes were bloodshot. He raised his uninjured left fist and unleashed the full strength of a fifth-stage body tempering stage 5, aiming it at Qin Hao's head. Smack! Qin Hao raised his hand casually and caught the fist firmly. He didn't even move an inch. This is your so-called strength? Qin Hao said coldly. He looked at Zhuang Ji as if he was looking at an ant. Impossible, impossible. I am a fifth-stage body tempering stage 5. I bang. Qin Hao didn't give Zhuang Ji's chance to finish his sentence. He kicked Zhuang Ji's face. Zhuang Heba's ears were buzzing, and his brain was in a mess. His bulging eyes were wide open, and he was sent flying 7 to 8 meters away by Qin Hao's kick. He fell to the ground like a heavy sack. The moment he landed on the ground, all the meridians in his body were broken by Qin Hao. From then on, he was a cripple. Trash, huh? Clown, huh? You don't have any real strength, right? Qin Hao walked over coldly. His whole body was emitting a cold aura. Who's the trash now? Who's the clown now? Who's the one who's boasting shamelessly? Qin Hao. I regret not killing you back then. Zhuang Ji cursed viciously as he lay weakly on the ground. Just a moment ago, he was still clamoring to compete with weapons, techniques, and strength. However, Qin Hao used his actions to prove that, in terms of weapons, Zhuang Ji's saber was broken. In terms of techniques, Zhuang Ji's 8 fingers were broken. In terms of strength, Qin Hao could easily take a full-powered attack from him. Zhuang Ji's 8 fingers couldn't even take a single kick from Qin Hao. The winner is king now. You still want to be a hero and marry Xiao Han, right? Qin Hao bent down and looked at Zhuang Ji's face. His eyes were terrifying as he slowly raised his finger. No. Don't kill me. Qin Hao, I was wrong. I'll give you money. With money, you can have countless women facing the shadow of death. Zhuang Ji's 8 fingers instantly lost all his courage. What dignity! What backbone! Go F** King Hell. Trash! Qin Hao dispersed the force from his finger and sent Zhuang Ji's 8 flying with a kick. So what if you have money? Countless women? You can't even compare to one finger from Xiao Han. At this moment, he really wanted to end Zhuang Ji's life with a single blow. However, it wasn't time yet. He turned around. Qin Hao took the purple meteorite sword from the tree and walked to the White Ape King's court. He dug out a pearl from its chest. The pearl was crystal clear and emitted a thin layer of spirit chi. It was the inner core of a level 6 vicious beast. The inner core could be consumed directly, used as medicine, or used as a material to refine other pills. It had many uses. After keeping the White Ape King's inner core, Qin Hao looked up at the sky. It was already noon. It was time to go back. The old men at the foot of the mountain were still waiting for the news of Qin Hao's death. Especially Qin Yuhai and Qin Dapeng. They couldn't wait to move into the east courtyard, fantasizing about becoming the head of the Qin family. At the foot of Mount Autumn Wind. That beast's roar was so powerful. Take a guess, who killed that Type 5 beast? I'm sure it's young Master Ji's 8. I don't think so. Although young Master Junshin is weaker in terms of cultivation, his techniques are better than young Master Zhuang's. Don't forget that there's still Qin Hao. Trash Qin? Ha ha. I'm afraid he's already become the dung of the beast. The people at the foot of the mountain were in a hubbub of discussion. Come. To show my respect for my Hao-er's courageous death, old man has set up a bet. Everyone is welcome to participate. Chapter 23. Betting on life and death. Zhuang Ji 8 wins, 10-1. Zhuajun Chen 8 wins, 1-1. If Qin Hao wins, 1-100. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the betting table on the ground. Qin Hao's odds were so high that it was tempting. However, no one dared to bet with Qin Yuhai. Because Qin Hao was dead meat. Second brother, you've gone too far. Qin Laosi clenched his fist. If Big Brother was still alive, Qin Yuhai would not dare to be so impudent. Fourth uncle, don't you think highly of Qin Hao? Let's make a bet. Qin Dapeng added fuel to the fire. His shifty eyes were asking for a beating. I'll bet with you. Stunned, a woman's voice sounded. Xiao Han strode forward, took off a jade pendant from her neck, and placed it on the ground. Miss, you mustn't. Lu Yu was shocked. The jade pendant was the only keepsake left behind by Xiao Han's family. In the future, Xiao Han still had to rely on it to find her biological parent. Good jade, good jade. Everyone was attracted by the jade pendant and couldn't help but praise it. Even Zhuo Wentian, who had been silent, narrowed his eyes. The jade was sparkling and translucent. It was shaped like a crescent moon, and there was a rainbow light lingering inside. Those who knew their stuff could tell at a glance that it had the effect of dispelling miasma and warding off evil spirit. It was an immeasurably good jade pendant. Zhuo Wentian's eyes were shrewd. If this jade was embedded into a weapon, it would definitely double or even triple its power. This jade pendant was not simple. Little girl, are you selling this jade? Zhuo Wentian couldn't help but ask. Xiao Han shook her head. Old man is willing to buy this jade for 1,000 taels of silver. Zhuo Wentian was still unwilling to give up. 1,000 taels of silver was an amount that an ordinary person could not spend in several lifetimes. He did not believe that Xiao Han would not be tempted. However, Zhuo Wentian was disappointed. Xiao Han stared at Qin Yuhai's bet with a determined gaze. She was not swayed by the money at all. Old brother Zhuo, don't bully a child. This jade is better than all the jades in Heaven's Wall City's flowing light treasure pavilion. You're not ashamed for a mere 1,000 taels of silver? I'll pay 5,000 taels of silver. A dignified fat man shouted. He was a merchant from Heaven's Wall City and often came to Akita town to do business. Coincidentally, there was a hunt today, so he came to watch the fun. Come on, you're not embarrassed to offer 5,000 taels. I'll offer 10,000 taels. Another person shouted. Fatty was not the only businessman. 10,000. Fatty shouted angrily. 15,000 taels. I'll fight it out with you. 20,000 taels, 25,000 taels, 30,000 taels, 35,000. In an instant, the few rich mastiffs were red in the face as they fought over the jade. They had the heroic spirit of not giving up until they obtained the jade. Zhuo Wentian was so ashamed that he wanted to find a hole in the ground to hide in. These wealthy merchants could not be offended. They were all gods of wealth. 38,000. 40,000. 45,000. The price was still soaring. I offer 20,000 taels of gold. Let's see who dares to compete with me. An earth-shattering roar rang out. Fatty's eyes were bloodshot as he shouted out a sky-high price of 20,000 gold. The moment he shouted out, the scene became completely silent. His competitors all shook their heads helplessly. Although they were unwilling, they had no choice but to admit defeat. Ha ha! Lu Fugue, Zhen is rich. How Fugue? Why aren't you competing with me? Fatty proudly raised his head, his face full of joy. Seeing that no one dared to answer him, he rubbed his hands and looked greedily at Xiao Han. 20,000 taels of gold, it should be enough to scare this country girl to death. I'm sorry, I'm not selling, Xiao Han said coldly. Boom. Fatty looked as if he had been struck by lightning. His fat body swayed as he pointed a trembling finger at Xiao Han. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Men, quickly send Master Hai back to his residence. Zhuo Wentian shouted anxiously. Fatty's name was Haidafu. He was a distinguished guest of Zhuo Wentian's residence, and had a reputation in Heaven's Wall City. 20,000 taels of gold could not move Xiao Han. This wild girl really did not know how to appreciate favors. At this moment, Zhuo Wentian looked coldly at the jade pendant on the ground. No one knew what he was thinking. Do you dare to bet? Xiao Han looked at Qin Yuhai. Father, what should we do? Qin Dapeng cowered. Originally, they had set up this bet to humiliate Qin Hao. However, Xiao Han had taken out such a high price for the jade pendant. 20,000 taels of gold. Even if they sold all their belongings, even if they sold Qin Dapeng and his son, they would not be able to take out so much money. If you want to bet, then bet. Who's afraid of who? Qin Yuhai's face trembled and beads of cold sweat kept dripping down. At this moment, he had no choice but to agree. Otherwise, he would not have the face to stay in Akita town. Since that's the case, I'll also raise the bet. 1,000 taels of silver. I bet that Hauer will win. Qin Laosi immediately raised the bet. 1,000 taels of silver was his limit. He still had to take care of his sick son at home. This was the money to save Qin Yu's life. Fourth Uncle Yu. Qin Dapeng's intestines turned green with regret. Qin Laosi was undoubtedly adding insult to injury. What are you afraid of? Qin Hao is dead for sure. I don't mind having more money. Qin Yuhai took 2 deep breaths and pretended to be calm. However, he was extremely nervous. Qin Laosi's 1,000 taels of silver was enough to take his life. If he lost, he would have to pay 100,000 taels of silver. Look, someone's coming out. Someone shouted. Everyone turned to look. In the distance, a figure walked out from the forest. His body was covered in blood and he fell to the ground. Chen-er! Amidst the loud cries, a middle-aged man shot out like an arrow. It was Zhuo Junchen's father. And who else could it be other than Zhuo Junchen? How did this happen? The faces of the people present paled. Zhuo Junchen lost. How are his injuries? Zhuo Wentian walked over. His chest heaved as he suppressed his anger. His life isn't in danger. He just fainted from exhaustion. However, his palm is severely injured. I'm afraid he won't be able to use the mountain-splitting palm again. Zhuo Junchen's father cried. Zhuang, old man, I'm not done with you. Zhuo Wentian raised his hand and struck with the power of the peak of the elemental gathering realm. Boom! A tree 100 meters away was split in half, as if it had been struck by lightning. Zhuo Junchen's hand had been pierced by a finger technique. It must have been Zhuang Ji's doing. This strike had destroyed Zhuo Junchen's future. He would never be able to improve his palm technique again. I knew it. How could 8th young Master Ji lose? I didn't expect young Master Zhuo to lose. Ha ha ha! Our young master is incomparably brave. Some of the people present felt pity, while others felt joy. There was even a burly man in black armor who couldn't stop laughing arrogantly. He was the captain of the Zhuang family's demon team. Look, something else is flying out. Someone pointed to the sky. Everyone looked up. Whoosh! A huge black figure was thrown down from the mountain. Plop! It landed on the ground. A piebald wolf? Everyone's eyes widened. It was the carcass of a wild beast. There was a finger-sized hole in its skull. Ha ha! Young master is mighty! Roar! Young master is mighty! The demon captain led the Zhuang family's team in cheering. Wasn't this the piebald wolf that had been killed by the heart-piercing finger? It must have been killed by young master. Whoosh! Another black figure fell from the sky. Plop! It was a headless tiger that fell in front of everyone. A striped tiger? A third-rank beast. Everyone stared at each other. Our young master is godlike. He easily chopped off the striped tiger's head. What? The demon captain still wanted to brag about Zhuang Ji's feat, however. When he looked up, he saw something falling from the sky. This thing was snow-white and abnormally huge. Chapter 24. To make a false countercharge boom. The white ape king crashed into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. At this moment, everyone held their breaths, not daring to even breathe. Big, really big, and incredibly strong. Such a ferocious beast could only be killed by a peerless hero. Zhuo Wentian narrowed his eyes, his pupils shrinking to the size of needles. He noticed that the white ape king's chest was heavily injured, but the real death spot was between its eyebrows. There was a bloody hole between its eyebrows, and it looked like it had been pierced by a finger technique. Level 5 wild beasts were extremely ferocious, so they would definitely launch a terrifying counterattack before dying, but its head had been pierced by a finger technique. Such speed and decisiveness, as expected of a young hero. Zhuo Junshan's loss to Zhuang Ji VIII was justified. Ah! We won, young master did it, the pride of our Zhuang clan. The evil demon captain raised his arms high and cried emotionally. Zhuo Wentian became the #1 fighter in Akita town because he had won the hunting competition and occupied all the mineral resources in Akita town. For a Yuan cultivator, money was the fastest way to increase their strength. Now that the mineral resources were in young master's hands, the Zhuang clan was about to rise. Ha ha ha, just as old man expected, Qin Hao is dead. The demon leader was crying, but Qin Yuhai was laughing. Zhuo Junshan had been defeated, and Zhuang Ji VIII had won first place. Qin Hao was dead for sure. You want to win old man's medicine shop? Go to hell. Hee, I won't hold back. Qin Dapeng bent down to pick up the crescent jade pendant on the ground. It was worth 20,000 taels of gold. He would exchange it with Uncle Hai later. Wait! Xiao Han stepped forward and blocked Qin Dapeng. Get out of my way! Qin Dapeng's face darkened. Why are you so sure that brother Qin Hao will die? Don't forget, Zhuang Ji VIII isn't the only one who knows finger techniques. Xiao Han reminded. However, he was very nervous and worried about Qin Hao's safety. That's right, Zhuang VIII isn't the only one who knows finger technique. We won't give up until the end. Qin IV silently channeled his energy and released the aura of a Yuan gathering tier fighter. Qin Dapeng's face turned ugly. He could ignore Xiao Han, but he didn't dare to be rash in front of Qin Laosi. Moreover, Xiao Han's words made his heart tremble. What if Qin Hao was still alive? Recalling the scene in the ancestral hall, Qin Dapeng retracted his hand with a face full of humiliation. He had no choice but to retreat under the influence of Qin Hao. Humph, useless thing. Qin Yuhai cursed loudly and said angrily, You guys won't give up until you see the coffin. Let's see who will have the last laugh. He turned around and shouted at the top of the mountain, Nephew Zhuang, come out quickly. Let those ignorant people see your majesty. That's right, 8th young Master Ji, please come out. Let us worship your coquettish posture. My eyes have long been thirsty. Young master, come out quickly. At the foot of the mountain, there was a boiling cauldron of voices, shouting in unison. The demon captain was also very excited. At this moment, they were all looking forward to the moment when the muscular Zhuang Ji would descend upon them like a deity. Who, as if their sincerity had touched the heavens, a figure flew down from the top of the mountain. Zhuang Ji finally appeared. However, he wasn't standing on clouds, and his posture wasn't coquettish. Instead, he was like a piece of rotten meat, drifting in the cruel mountain wind. He was covered in blood, and his eyes were filled with despair. As he fell, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. It seemed that even that tiny movement had exhausted all of his strength. What? How is this possible? Oh my God! Hong. Everyone at the foot of the mountain was shocked. Hong. Zhuo Wentian was shocked. Hong. The demon captain was stunned. Gotcha. Qin Yuhai felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and his mind went blank. Beside him, Qin Dapeng was so scared that his legs were trembling, and a stinky liquid flowed out from his pants. Zhuang Jiba didn't appear as the victor. Now, even an idiot could tell that he had been beaten out of the mountain. He had lost. Young master. The demon captain was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. He unleashed the power of the first layer of element gathering tier and leaped into the air. He understood the shape of Zhuang Jiba's mouth. It was obviously saying, "Save me, young master." The demon captain caught him. The moment his palm touched him, he knew that Zhuang Jiba was crippled. Who did this? The demon captain shouted in grief and anger. Zhuang Jiba used all his strength to raise his trembling hand and point at the forest at the foot of the mountain. At this moment, a figure was walking out of the forest. He wasn't tall, and he didn't have a strong aura. However, everyone felt an indescribable pressure. Although he wasn't tall, he was as majestic as a mountain. Every step he took felt as if he was stepping on everyone's heartstrings, making them feel so uncomfortable that they wanted to die. He was Qin Hao, who was called a piece of trash by others. He was Qin Hao, who was despised by Zhuo Wentian and couldn't even defeat a first-rank wild beast. He was Qin Hao, who Qin Yuhai thought would definitely die. However, he came back as Wuk in one piece, although his body was tattered and in a very sorry state. Hao didn't disappoint fourth uncle. I won the first place for the family and won the mining rights of the West Mountain. Qin Hao walked through the crowd and knelt in front of Qin Laosi. After he finished speaking, he turned his head and looked at Xiao Han. I won. Woo woo, Xiao Han covered her mouth as tears dripped down her cheeks. She couldn't say a single word. Good, good, good child. Qin Laosi's throat was choked with sobs, and his eyes were wet. Qin Hao's clothes weren't intact at all, and there were bloodstains all over his clothes. In order to kill that white ape, what kind of dangerous battle did he go through? How much pain did he go through? Big brother in the netherworld, did you see it? Sister-in-law, did you see it too? This is your son. And father, you thought that Hao-er's strength was a disgrace, so he fought with his life on the line. You didn't even want to come and take a look. But he brought glory to the entire Qin family. He is also your grandson. Sigh. The surrounding people shook their heads and sighed. After they came to their senses, they chose to leave one after another. They were too ashamed to stay. Zhuo Junqian was defeated. Zhuang Heba, who was in body tempering stage 5, was also defeated. Qin Hao, who was least favored, had won. Although it was surprising, it was disappointing. What should we do? What should we do, father? Qin Dapeng was about to cry. He pulled on Qin Yuhai's clothes in a panic. Qin Yuhai's vision turned dark when he thought about the medicine store and the debt he owed. He was about to faint. Qin Hao, you despicable bastard, sneak attacked me. I killed the rank 5 white ape. Astonishment, a loud roar sounded. This voice seemed to be magical, and it made everyone stop in their track. Even Qin Yuhai, who was about to faint, stopped fainting. At this moment, everyone looked at the source of the voice. It was Zhuang Heba. Qin Hao sneered in his heart. A leopard can't change its spots. He had expected Zhuang Heba to bite back. He stood up slowly and turned around with a smile. You said that you killed the white ape, right? Zhuang Heba didn't answer. He looked at Qin Hao with hatred, his chest heaving up and down. The roar just now had triggered his injuries and almost cost him his life. What happened? Zhuo Wentian asked seriously. As the leader of the hunt, he had to be fair and just. He couldn't allow anyone to fish in troubled waters. Qin Hao must have attacked my young master when he was unprepared. The finger marks on the white ape's forehead are solid proof. Qin Hao shamelessly said that he killed the white ape. The Qin family is extremely shameless. The demon leader pointed at the white ape's forehead and exposed Qin Hao's scheme. Chapter 25. Absolutely irreconcilable. The surrounding people also pointed at Qin Hao and whispered, "How could a mere body tempering stage 1 kill a rank 5 beast? Ironclad evidence?" Qin Hao sneered, "Young Master Zhuang, please take out your ironclad evidence. Still not giving up? Young Master, quickly show me your finger and blind Qin Hao's dog eyes." "What?" The demon leader turned around and saw Zhuang Ji's 8 index fingers. It broke, it broke, it broke! If his fingers were broken, how could he poke the white ape's skull? Voila! Qin Hao raised his hand. Countless sharp shards fell from the cuffs to the ground. The people at the scene immediately recognized that it was the machete that Zhuang Ji had taken with him during the 8-year hunt. Now, the middle-grade sharp weapon was broken into pieces. He can't even break through the white ape's skin, and he still dares to boast that he killed it. Qin Hao said disdainfully. "You?" The demon captain was speechless. Although he didn't want to admit it, the fact was that the young master's blade had been shattered. However, he was still unwilling to give up. "You said that even my young master, who is in the 5th stage of body tempering realm, was unable to break through the white ape's defense. How did you, who is in the 1st stage of body tempering realm, do it?" Whoosh! Qin Hao swung his hand backward, and a sharp purple light pierced through the field, and pierced into the white ape's abdomen. "Who said that I'm only at the 1st stage of body tempering realm?" Qin Hao retorted. Boom! Everyone at the scene was shocked. Zhuo Wentian's eyes widened as he said in disbelief, 4th layer body tempering realm. Qin Hao's seemingly casual attack was actually very powerful. As an elite in the peak stage of element gathering tier, how could Zhuo Wentian not be able to tell? That attack just now was at least at the 4th layer of body tempering realm. Senior Zhuo is right, I have just broken through to the 4th stage of body tempering realm. That sword is my 4th uncle's high-grade weapon. It can cut through iron like mud. A mere class 6 dire beast won't be able to withstand a single blow. Qin Hao pointed at the purple meteorite sword in the white ape's abdomen. Qin Laosi was slightly taken aback. Then, he smiled and remained silent. Only he knew that the sword was not for Qin Hao, but how could he say that out loud? With the strength of body tempering stage 4 and the help of a high-grade refined weapon, it is indeed possible to kill a class 6 dire beast. Wait, what did you say? White ape is a class 6 dire beast. Zhuo Wentian, who had been calm all this time, was shocked this time. He pointed at the white ape and stared with his old eyes. Ha ha, that brat from the Qin family sure knows how to brag. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? That's clearly a 5th rank. The demon captain finally caught onto some clues and was about to mock them. Then, his laughter got stuck in his throat. This was because a pearl had appeared in Qin Hao's hand. The pearl was sparkling and translucent, as if it had just been formed. It was filled with a thin layer of spirit qi. "Do you guys recognize this?" Qin Hao asked with a smile as he played with the bead. Inner core. The elders were all shocked by the inner core in Qin Hao's hand and took a few steps back. Only dire beasts of class 6 and above could condense an inner core. In other words, the white ape in front of him was not a class 5 beast but a class 6 one. Zhuang Ji was most likely lying. Dire beasts were very ambitious and would take the initiative to attack humans. If it ran down the mountain carelessly, Akita town would be in trouble. Who knew how many people would die in the hands of this beast? Their own family members might even be among them. Thinking of this, the people at the scene were scared. Fortunately, the dire beast was killed. At this moment, the elders of Akita town cast a grateful look at Qin Hao. No one dared to look down on the young man in front of them anymore. Senior Zhuo, the aristocratic hunt is based on the highest realm of the younger generation. They put in beasts of the same class to prove their ability. What do you mean by putting a class 6 dire beast on the mountain? Qin Hao took the initiative to question Zhuo Wentian. This old man was careless. Zhuo Wentian bowed slightly to the people around him to express his apology. As the head of the aristocratic hunt, he did catch a Class 5 beast according to Zhuang Ji's strength. Participants who were not strong enough could choose not to challenge the white ape. Unexpectedly, the white ape was a dire beast that was about to break through to Class 6. Now that the truth was out, Zhuo Wentian looked coldly at the demon leader, waiting to see what else he had to say. Even so, you can't attack my young master maliciously. Now that his meridians are broken, how are you going to explain this? The demon leader did not let go of Qin Hao. Explain? I'll explain it to you right now. Qin Hao's face tensed up. He raised his palm and rushed forward. Good. You want to kill me? The demon leader laughed in his heart. A mere body-tempering stage 4 dared to challenge a martial artist of gathering yuan tier. Qin Hao did not know what was good for him. Boom. The two palms collided. Qin Hao did not move an inch. The demon leader staggered and retreated. Every step he took left a deep footprint on the ground. The momentum was terrifying. As soon as he stopped, he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Master Qin, this palm did not hit Qin Hao. In the nick of time, Qin Laosi attacked the demon leader. If it wasn't for Uncle Zhuang, I would have crippled you today, Qin Laosi said coldly. At the same time, he looked at Qin Hao reproachfully. How could he joke about his own life? You know that I'm not as strong as you, but you still used all your strength to take my life. Why do you want to kill me? Qin Hao rubbed his nose and looked relaxed. He knew that Qin Laosi would save him. You're the one who tried to kill me first. Why can't I fight back? The devil captain screamed. Oh! Qin Hao dragged his voice. You're only allowed to kill. Others can't fight back. They even have to stretch their heads out to cooperate, right? Qin Hao pointed at Zhuang Heba on the ground. His meaning was obvious. Zhuang Heba attacked first. He was just defending himself. Good. You've got guts. This is not over. The demon leader was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He turned around and wanted to leave with Zhuang Heba. Who said you could leave? Qin Hao said. What do you want? The demon leader couldn't take it anymore. Qin Hao snorted coldly. He took out a piece of paper and held it in front of everyone. The day Zhuang Heba gets first place in the hunt will be the day he marries Xiao Han. Someone read out loud. They even saw the handprint on the paper. I believe everyone knows that I accidentally ate the poisonous grass a month ago. This is the promise I made with Zhuang Heba. Unfortunately, Qin Hao shook his head. He doesn't have the ability to do so. He's not worthy. After he finished speaking, Qin Hao tore the marriage contract into pieces in front of everyone. The pieces were blown away by the wind, covering Zhuang Heba's head and face. Zhuang Heba laid on the ground miserably. It was as if he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. His dignity and pride were mercilessly torn apart and trampled on by Qin Hao along with the marriage contract. However, what followed was a monstrous hatred. He wanted to tear Qin Hao into pieces and eat his flesh and skin him alive. I didn't expect Zhuang Heba to be this kind of person. The ferocious beast was killed by young Master Qin Hao. He's trying to impersonate him. Despicable. He's not just despicable. I think he's shameless. Old man must be blind to think that he's a young hero. He's a young coward. Now, he's a useless person. Serves him right. A useless person wants to marry Miss Xiao Han? A toad lusting after a swan's meat. Everyone changed their attitude and started cursing at Zhuang Heba. This villain had no sense of shame. His actions were so vile that he had completely disgraced his ancestors. Qin Hao stood on the spot and remained silent. This was the result he wanted. He had promised Xiao Han that he would destroy Zhuang Heba's reputation and make him despised by everyone. Qin Hao, you and I are irreconcilable. Zhuang Heba roared with all his might. He fainted from anger. Chapter 26. The Patriarch has gone mad. You've won. You've won beautifully and brilliantly. Zhuo Wentian walked over with a cold face. Without giving Qin Hao a chance to reply, he continued, I will personally pay a visit to your grandfather on another day to discuss the transfer of the West Mountain mines. Mo Chang, bring Junchen, let's go. Zhuo Junqian's father nodded and followed behind Zhuo Wentian. In this battle, Zhuang Ji was almost crippled, Zhuo Junqian was severely injured, and Qin Hao was the biggest winner. It could be said that he gained both fame and fortune. He had broken through to the fourth layer of body tempering realm, but he had concealed his strength and pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. Even Zhuo Wentian was kept in the dark. This kid is meticulous and his progress is too fast. He must not be allowed to live. Zhuo Wentian turned around and looked at Qin Hao. A deep killing intent flashed in his eyes before he looked at Xiao Han's jade pendant. Not only must Qin Hao die, but the jade pendant must also be obtained. As for Zhuo Junqian, it was time to consider giving him up and nurturing a new successor in the family. Qin Hao could feel Zhuo Wentian's killing intent, but he was not afraid at all. Following his gaze, he saw Xiao Han picking up the jade pendant from the ground. He immediately understood what Zhuo Wentian was thinking. However, at this moment, he didn't pay attention to him because there was something more important to do. Second uncle, I won't stand on ceremony with the medicinal herbs shop. Also, you guys lost the bet. According to Uncle Hai's price and fourth uncle's bet, you guys owe 2 million taels of gold and 100,000 taels of silver. I don't want my money. You guys can't afford it. Fourth uncle's money can't be missed either. Xiao Han waved the jade pendant in front of Qin Hao. Pfff, Qin Yuhai couldn't bear it anymore. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Father, what's wrong? Father, don't scare me. Qin Dapeng panicked and kept shaking Qin Yuhai. Dapeng, go back and prepare a coffin. Let's hold a grand funeral for your father. Qin Laosi said coldly. Then he pulled Qin Hao and Xiao Han away from empty Qiufeng. These words were what Qin Yuhai had given to Qin Hao. Qin Hao, you and I are absolutely irreconcilable. Far away, Qin Dapeng's shrill curse could be heard. Qin Hao smiled helplessly. Another person that he couldn't live under the same sky with. Dragon Emperor City's Han Lingxian and I are absolutely irreconcilable. Zhan Wu, who was known as the strongest fighter, was also my sworn enemy. The old men of the 7 great empires, 19 kingdoms, and hundreds of duchies are absolutely irreconcilable with me. Even Zhuang Heba, who had been crippled, wanted to eat my flesh and drink my blood. Who does Qin Dapeng think he is? How are you too sharp? Be careful not to make others jealous. Qin Laosi said worriedly. Aren't you here, fourth uncle? Qin Hao chuckled. Qin Laosi was stunned. Silly child. He patted Qin Hao's shoulder lightly, and the two of them returned to the Qin mansion side by side, as if they were father and son. Qin clan's ancestral hall. Qin Shilong sat quietly. Calculating the time, the hunt should be over. I shouldn't have let that unfilial grandson go. Qin Shilong regretted. When it was time to face it, he realized how terrible it was to be mocked. All of this was because of Qin Hao's humiliation. Grand Elder, not good. A servant rushed in. Because he was too flustered, he fell in front of Qin Shilong. What a disgrace! Qin Shilong scolded loudly. This servant was called Qin Liao. He was secretly sent to Mount Qiufeng to observe the hunt. Young Master Qin Hao, Young Master, Qin Liao was too nervous and couldn't breathe. Is he dead? Qin Shilong had expected this scene. Qin Hao couldn't even deal with a rank 1 wild beast. At this moment, he was dispirited. He waved his hand and asked Qin Liao to leave. After all, he was his grandson. Forget it, he would hold a funeral for Hao tomorrow. No. Young master didn't die, but what? Didn't die? Qin Shilong was shocked. Did he kill a rank 1 wild beast? No, no. Qin Liao replied. A rank 2 wild beast? Qin Shilong was surprised. Qin Liao nodded, then quickly shook his head. A rank 3 wild beast? Qin Shilong's eyes widened in disbelief. Qin Liao's expression became difficult. Should he say it? After all, the Grand Elder didn't want to see Qin Hao win. Spit it out. Don't tell me that Hao killed a rank 4 wild beast. The old man won't believe it. Qin Shilong raised his voice, his breathing becoming rapid. In fact, young master killed the White Ape King and took first place in the hunt. Qin Liao said carefully after struggling for a while. Boom. Qin Shilong felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He jumped up from his chair. Say that one more time. Qin Liao's voice was too soft. Qin Shilong thought he heard wrong. Young master hid his strength. He's not a rank 1 body tempering realm, but a rank 4 body tempering realm. He killed the White Ape King and won the West Mountain Mines. Qin Liao said in fear. Is that true? Qin Shilong felt the blood in his body boiling. I wouldn't dare lie. Qin Liao was about to cry. Ha ha! Hao is indeed my grandson. First place in the hunt, West Mountain Mines. Our Qin family is going to be rich. Qin Shilong raised his head and roared excitedly. His roar was unusually deep, as if he wanted to vent all the years of suppression. Qin Liao covered his ears. The Grand Elder's aura was too shocking. Didn't he not want to see Qin Hao win? Why was he so excited? Also, Zhou Junshan of the Zhou family was severely injured. He can no longer improve his mountain-splitting palm. Even the strongest Zhuang Heba was crippled by young master Qin Hao. If they come for revenge, Qin Liao said what worried him the most. When the time came, Qin Shilong would mercilessly hand Qin Hao over to protect the entire Qin family. Well done, Hao is indeed my flesh and blood. He's so heroic and helped the old man vent his anger for so many years. Come, who's afraid? Who does Zhuo Wentian think he is? What can Zhuang Maoxian do to me? The old man's crushing fist has been thirsty for a long time. Qin Shilong's fighting spirit was overflowing as he punched through the air. Crack! A huge fist mark appeared on the wall of the ancestral hall. The mark was surrounded by dense spider webs. Qin Liao was shocked and frightened. Mad, the Grand Elder has gone mad. After Qin Hao returned home, he didn't go to the ancestral hall to meet Qin Shilong. He was covered in blood and dirt and his clothes were tattered. He went to take a bath and changed into a clean set of clothes. He also learned about the bet from Xiao Han. Qin Hao praised Xiao Han, making her very happy. But in reality, Qin Hao was very touched. The jade pendant was connected to Xiao Han's past. She put the only keepsake on him, showing her sincerity. What is hidden in the jade pendant? It was late at night. Qin Hao lay on his bed, and the shape of a crescent moon appeared in his mind. That was no ordinary jade. It was far more valuable than 20,000 taels of gold. He had carefully observed it before, but he couldn't see the secret inside. It seemed that someone had placed a powerful restriction on it. Maybe it's because my current cultivation level is too low. Qin Hao sighed. Even with Denda's eyesight, he couldn't see through the jade pendant. This jade was definitely not ordinary. Old man Zhua is greedy. I must guard against him. Chapter 27. Times have changed. One night later, the news of Qin Hao killing the rank 6 white ape spread like a plague in Akita town. Although there were many witnesses, others didn't believe it. The white ape's fatal wound was on its forehead. It was penetrated by a finger technique. Qin Hao had never used a finger technique in front of everyone. Regarding this matter, there were two opinions in the town. Some people thought that Qin Hao's strength was unfathomable and that he hadn't shown his full strength yet. Some people thought that Qin Hao was cheating. In short, Qin Hao was extremely mysterious. They all hoped that he would show a few of his moves in public. Qin Mansion East Courtyard. Early in the morning, the servants were busy. They carried flower pots, cleaned the courtyard, and wiped the door with a cloth again and again. In the blink of an eye, the dilapidated courtyard was immediately renewed and restored to its former glory. Qin Hao woke up a little late. He was really tired yesterday. The moment he opened the door, he was surprised by the scene in front of him. Young master! Over 50 servants and maids lined up in a row and bowed to Qin Hao, who was standing at the door. No need to bow. Go do your work. Qin Hao waved his hand. He immediately thought that these people must have been sent by the old master of the ancestral hall. Qin Hao had brought glory to the Qin family. Qin Shilong would definitely look at Qin Hao in a new light. He would definitely not treat Qin Hao as heir like before. People were so snobbish. How is it, young master? Are you satisfied? Lu Yu walked over with a happy face. The rough cloth clothes on his body disappeared and were replaced by a magnificent steward's uniform. In fact, he wanted to wear a mighty armor. Unfortunately, his strength was crippled. It's okay, Qin Hao said lightly. These people were specially selected by the old master from the 3 main courtyards. They are the most efficient group of people in the entire Qin mansion. Lu Yu chuckled. Now, with the rise of Qin Hao's status, his status also rose. The East Courtyard was also as prosperous as when the old master was alive. Everything was the result of young master's hard work. Move aside, move aside. This guy is so heavy. At the entrance, 5 or 6 men carried in a stone table. The stone table was snow white, and the carvings were meticulously done. It was made of high-quality marble and was extremely heavy. Qin Hao frowned. He felt that the man looked familiar. Young master, do you still remember? This was the old master's favorite ornament when he was alive. Now, it has finally returned to its rightful owner. Lu Yu sighed. The stone table originally belonged to the East Courtyard. Qin Hao's father had brought it here from afar. Sitting around the stone table in summer was extremely cool and had the effect of calming one's nerve. After her father's death, the stone table was also occupied by Qin Yuhai. Qin Yuhai owes fourth master a gambling debt of 100,000 yuan, but he still hasn't paid it all back. He's already reduced to a cellar. He deserves it, Lu Yu said fiercely, as if he wanted to spit out all the years of suppression. At present, Qin Yuhai was trying his best to repay Qin Laoxi's gambling debt. He had emptied the entire west courtyard and was so angry that he vomited blood several times. Qin Laoxi knew that the stone table belonged to Qin Hao's father, so he had specially brought it back. And them. Lu Yu pointed at the 6 men who were carrying things. Hurry up and greet the young master. Greetings, young master. The 6 energetic men came to Qin Hao and bowed respectfully. Qin Hao's eyes widened in surprise. Body Tempering Realm Stage 8. All 6 of them were in Body Tempering Realm Stage 8. Moreover, Qin Hao could faintly feel that they were not ordinary Body Tempering Realm Stage 8 cultivators, but elite. They are the old master's personal bodyguards. They used to be responsible for guarding the ancestral hall. The old master ordered them to protect young master. Lu Yu was quite satisfied with the 6 bodyguards. With their strength, they were top-notch experts among the silver-armored cavalry. Thank you for your trouble, Qin Hao said gently. That was then, and this is now. It was indeed as the saying went, 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west. The east courtyard had regained its former glory, but the west courtyard had declined. The old master had even sent his personal bodyguards. It was enough to show how much he valued Qin Hao. Of course, Qin Hao did not need anyone to protect him. He was polite to the bodyguards because of Xiao Han. If one day he was not around, the 6 Body Tempering Realm Stage 8 bodyguards could guarantee Xiao Han's safety. Young master, what are you talking about? Your business is our business. Young master, you won first place in the hunting competition and crippled Zhuang. It's so satisfying. From now on, we're family. As long as you say the word, we'll stab whoever you want us to. The 6 men laughed heartily. With their strength, they would be respected in the entire Akita town. However, to be praised by the young man who won first place in the hunting competition, Qin Hao, was still very honorable. Oh, by the way, the old master is still waiting for you. Young master, you should go now. Don't be rude. One of the bodyguards said sincerely. After all, Qin Shilong was the old master. His dignity was not to be challenged. The 6 bodyguards were now Qin Hao's subordinate. Naturally, they had to think for Qin Hao. And Qin Hao nodded and walked towards the ancestral hall of the Qin residence, accompanied by Lu Yu. When they arrived at the ancestral hall, Lu Yu was waiting at the entrance. He was not qualified to enter. My nephew Qin Hao is here. How was it? Did you have a good rest yesterday? As soon as he stepped through the door, a tall and thin middle-aged man welcomed him with a face full of eagerness. It was Qin Laosan. A month ago, he was still looking down on Qin Hao. Nephew, come here quickly. Let uncle take a good look at you. You've grown so tall. Uncle can't even recognize you. You're mighty and extraordinary. You're indeed Qin Dingtian's son. Ah! All of a sudden, Qin Hao's relatives surrounded him so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. His 7 aunts and 8 aunts from his distant family all rushed over. Qin Hao defeated Zhuo Junshin, crippled Zhuang Heba, took first place in the hunting competition, and killed a rank 6 dire beast. He had become the focus of attention in the surrounding villages. Qin Hao sneered in his heart. The ancestral hall was still the ancestral hall. Relatives were still relatives. Today it was completely different from a month ago. Greetings, 4th uncle. Qin Hao separated the crowd and bowed to Qin Laosan, who was sitting at the side. He was still kneeling. Get up quickly. Qin Laosan hurriedly helped Qin Hao up. He was still as calm as usual. Go and greet your grandfather. Greetings, grandfather. Qin Hao cupped his hands and bowed slightly. Qin Shilong's eyelids twitched a few times. This child was really stubborn. And Qin Shilong replied with a kind smile. Why does 2nd uncle look so haggard? Didn't you rest well yesterday? Qin Hao found the downcast Qin Yuhai in a corner. Qin Hao, you brat, why are you asking when you already know the answer? Qin Yuhai snorted coldly. His face was haggard and pale. The silver hair on his head had also increased a lot. It was as if he had aged a lot overnight. Second brother, as an elder, how can your tone be so harsh? Watch your attitude, Qin Laosan said coldly to Qin Yuhai. Third brother, Qin Yuhai was shocked. He had lost the medicine store and owed a gambling debt of 100,000 yuan. He was already walking on thin ice. It was fine if others treated him like this, but now even Qin Laosan, who was the closest to him, had become so cold. Sigh. Qin Yuhai sighed unwillingly. How you took first place in the hunting competition and won the Shishan mines for the family. Today, we're gathered here to celebrate. Chapter 28. The Secret, oh right? Are you satisfied with the people I sent to the East Courtyard this morning? Yes. Qin Hao nodded. The servants and maids were fine, but the 6 body-tempering stage 8 bodyguards were not bad. Your nephew has won glory for the family. Father, why don't you do something more practical? Qin Laosan jeered as he looked at Qin Hao with a fawning gaze. Qin Shilong smiled and nodded. Hao's performance has really impressed old man. After Dingtian passed away, the East Courtyard has no one to manage it. Here are 30,000 taels of silver. The courtyard should be renovated, so you don't have to worry about a lack of money. Qin Shilong did not allow Qin Hao to refuse. He took out a stack of banknotes and slapped it into his hand. After a pause, he continued, in addition, I discussed with Zhuo Wentian that after taking over the West Mountain mines, I will give it to your fourth uncle to manage. Father, I'm afraid that's not good. Before Qin Hao could reply, Qin Yuhai was the first to stand up and oppose. The West Mountain mines was extremely important. It was the economic lifeline of the entire town. Regardless of seniority and ranking, no matter what, he should be the one to take over. No matter who it was, it would not be Qin Laosan's turn. Do you have a problem with my words? Qin Shilong's tone was extremely dissatisfied. I don't dare. Qin Yuhai immediately bowed his head and admitted his mistake. Although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. He could see that although the old man gave the West Mountain mines to Qin Laosan on the surface, he was actually protecting Qin Hao in using this to repair the cold relationship between grandfather and grandson. In addition, although you have broken through to body tempering stage 4 and killed a rank 6 vicious beast, you are still not satisfied. You can't be satisfied with the current situation and neglect your martial art. In the future, I will send people to the East Courtyard every month. You must take all of them, not a single one can be saved. I will keep a close eye on you and supervise you. Do you have any opinion on my cruel methods? Qin Shilong said seriously. However, his face now only had doting, there was no trace of dignity in it. Grandfather, you are too partial to Qin Hao. This is such a good thing. I am willing to let you be cruel. Qin Dapeng almost jumped up and shouted. 10 minor origin pills. 10 pills. In the past, Qin Hao didn't even have the qualifications to lick half of it. No, to lick it. Now all he did was kill a wild monkey, and he could get 10 every month. Qin Dapeng himself only took 2 pills a month. What, do you have a problem with my words? Qin Shilong stared sternly at Qin Dapeng. The smile on his face immediately disappeared. Dapeng, your skills are not good enough. Don't come out and make a fool of yourself. It's a waste to let you eat the small origin pill. Father, I suggest that you give the Western Courtyard half a pill every month. Qin Laosan said. Third uncle, how can you say that? Qin Dapeng was stunned. Half a pill? How dare you say that it's only half a pill? Qin Dapeng was anxious. He wanted to explode and have a big fight with Qin Laosan. Qin Yuhai shook his head at Qin Dapeng with a disappointed expression. He had come to a complete realization. It seemed that he no longer had the right to speak in this family. Everyone only had eyes for Qin Hao. All the benefits were given to Qin Hao first. They didn't even have a share of the soup. No, Qin Dapeng let out a mournful cry. I'm useless, but grandfather, don't forget that my big brother has already become an outer disciple of Fengli Temple. If you only give the Western Courtyard half a small origin pill every month, how can it support my big brother's cultivation? In fact, it was true that Qin Dapeng neglected martial arts. More importantly, he sent his small origin pill to Qin Dapeng, who was far away in Fengli Temple. Now that Qin Laosan proposed to give the Western Courtyard half a small origin pill, it would seriously hinder Qin Dapeng's cultivation speed. Qin Shilong looked at Qin Hao with some difficulty, hoping that he would stand out and say something. Grandfather, you don't have to consider my feelings. Do what you need to do. In fact, I don't need the small origin pill. Of course, your grandson's cultivation won't stop at all because of this. Qin Hao said calmly. Oh, nephew, you must have some secret? Qin Laosan's eyes lit up. He hit the nail on the head. Qin Hao could rise 3 levels in a month. He must have obtained some kind of treasure. That's right, I accidentally obtained a secret method. To be precise, it's a kind of medicine. Qin Hao decided not to hide the Luoyang liquid anymore. In fact, when he stepped into the ancestral hall, he had already guessed everything. There were so many relatives. The old man gave him money, minerals, and even supervised his cultivation. There was a purpose behind all of this. They coveted Qin Hao's secret. If he didn't tell them about the Luoyang liquid, they probably wouldn't let Qin Hao leave so easily. It's true that I was weak before, but I read a lot of books. By chance, I found an ancient book from Daqin in my father's room. There was a kind of medicine recorded in it. Qin Hao briefly explained the Luoyang liquid. The ingredients were low, but the medicine was strong. A small portion of the medicine was comparable to a small origin pill. However, it was far more practical than a small origin pill because the medicine was absorbed by the body faster. However, he ignored the formula of the Luoyang liquid. Coincidentally, this ancient book was written by Dendi from Daqin 600 years ago. Of course, he was a nobody when he made the Luoyang liquid. However, Denda's name is exactly the same as mine. He's also called Qin Hao. Does this mean that I'll become an emperor in the future? Qin Hao said as he rubbed his nose. Ha ha, everyone was amused by Qin Hao. He actually compared himself to Dendi, who had shocked the world 600 years ago. However, no one laughed at him at this moment. Everyone was attracted by Qin Hao's Luoyang liquid. According to Qin Hao, the ingredients of the medicine were very low, but the medicine was comparable to a small origin pill. Refining pills was very troublesome. Under certain conditions, there was a limit to the quantity. Moreover, the Qin family didn't have any alchemists. They spent a lot of money to buy pills from the city. The Luoyang liquid provided by Qin Hao could be mass-produced. Not only could it be used by the family, but it could also be sold in the market. Who knows, they might even be able to take the small origin pill's position and make those alchemists go hungry. At this moment, Qin Shilong laughed. 30,000 taels of silver was nothing. West Mountain minerals was nothing. 10 small origin pills a month was nothing but *T in his eyes. As long as he firmly grasped the formula of the Luoyang liquid, the family's glory days were just around the corner. Congratulations, your son will soon break through to the 3rd stage of body tempering realm. Congratulations, congratulations. In time, your daughter might even break through to the 4th stage of body tempering realm. It's all because of Hao. Hao is a good son of the Qin family. He's promising and has a bright future. The room was filled with aunts, uncles, and uncles. All of them praised Qin Hao in unison. Their praises were incomparably beautiful and extravagant. These incomparably beautiful words were especially ear-piercing in Qin Dapeng's ears. He was as upset as he could be and as jealous as he could be. At the same time, there was a hint of longing in his eyes. I say, Qin Dapeng, hurry up and say a few good words in front of my nephew. If Hao is happy, he might even give you a few sips. Qin Laosan's eyes were sharp and saw through Qin Dapeng's thoughts. Qin Dapeng turned his head to the side. Although he was tempted, he still had to maintain his face. Especially when Qin Laosan was really a good-for-nothing. He directly changed the way he addressed Qin Dapeng from nephew to Qin Dapeng. Qin Hao, on the other hand, had become his nephew and had even called him so intimately. You don't know how to appreciate kindness. The child is unteachable. Qin Laosan spat out another cold sentence. Dapeng, let's go. Qin Yuhai's face was ashen. He couldn't stand it anymore and pulled Qin Dapeng away from the crowd. Chapter 29. Seeing a doctor, but... Father. Qin Hao's Luoyang liquid. Qin Dapeng looked at the ancestral hall behind him with reluctance. Slap. Qin Yuhai slapped Qin Dapeng's face. Useless. You'll get your share of Luoyang liquid later. The entire Qin family will be ours. I've already written a letter to your brother. He'll be back soon. If the current situation continued, Qin Hao would become the patriarch's treasure. He might even pass the position to him. It was time to call the patriarch back. In front of the patriarch, Qin Hao was nothing but a clown. Really? Qin Dapeng was overjoyed. He could feel the aura of his eldest brother, who was thousands of miles away. Yes, Qin Yuhai nodded. Qin Hao, just you wait. See how my patriarch will deal with you. In the ancestral hall, Qin Yuhai left angrily. Everyone looked at him with disdain. Don't worry about them. Qin Shilong was also angry. The old man wasn't dead yet, but second brother Qin was already throwing a tantrum. Qin Dapeng even threatened him with the patriarch's name. What an unfilial descendant. Howard, continue. What other benefits does the Luoyang liquid have? Qin Shilong asked. I've told you all the benefits. You'll know the specific effects later. However, don't expect too much. After all, it's just a small potion. Qin Hao continued to explain. The Luoyang liquid could raise a cultivator's level to body tempering stage 5 or 6. Any higher and the effect would be negligible. The effect of raising a cultivator's level from body tempering stage 6 to body tempering stage 7 could not be measured by quantity. That was beyond the Luoyang liquid's ability. On the other hand, the pills on the continent were not divided into 3, 6, and 9 grades. The alchemists were also not divided into 9 grades. Moreover, there was still the imperial grade above the 9th grade. Qin Hao was the only dendi in the world. In short, the stronger a cultivator was, the higher the quality of the pills they needed. Ha ha! No problem, body tempering stage 6 is enough. We'll use the money from the Luoyang liquid to buy higher grade pills. This is the chance for our Qin family to dominate Akita town. The people in the hall were not disheartened because of this. They still understood the principle of making money with money. I'm a little tired, take your time. Qin Laosi got up and prepared to leave. It wasn't that Qin Hao ignored him. Instead, she despised this group of relatives for using Hao as a tool. Fourth uncle, wait a moment. I haven't finished speaking yet. Qin Hao stopped Qin Laosi with a smile. Fourth uncle, I don't have any ambitions. Moreover, you can't cultivate, so I won't participate in the matter of the Luoyang liquid. Qin Laosi patted Qin Hao's shoulder. He understood Qin Hao's intentions. He definitely wanted to give the formula of the Luoyang liquid to him and give priority to fourth uncle for all benefits. I said, brother, you can cultivate. Qin Hao said to Qin Laosi's back. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder in Qin Laosi's ears, making him unable to take another step forward. What did you say? Qin Laosi immediately turned around with a face full of shock. I said, brother, you can cultivate. Qin Hao repeated. Is what you said true? At this moment, Qin Laosi's eyes were somewhat moist. Qin Yu's illness had always been a thorn in his heart. Ha! Fourth uncle, do you not believe me? I said. Brother, you can cultivate with the Luoyang liquid. Qin Hao told him the most important use of the Luoyang liquid. This was something he discovered from Mother Fu. When Mother Fu boiled the medicine for Qin Hao, after inhaling the fragrance of the medicine, her body was actually slightly transformed by the Luoyang liquid. I can absolutely conclude that it can completely eradicate Brother Yu's chronic illness. Perhaps it will be very slow, but it can definitely restore Brother Yu to a normal person. Qin Yu's tone was exceptionally certain. After hearing this, everyone gasped. This was truly a huge discovery. In the secular world, one's body was almost determined by the heavens. Weak was weak, strong was strong. Only the legendary experts could use powerful external forces to enlighten others and change their physique. Who would have thought that a mere medicine could have such a miraculous effect? At this moment, the eyes of everyone in the hall were shining with golden light. Coincidentally, a few days ago, I saved an extra portion for the hunt. Qin Hao winked at Qin Laosi. Then what are you waiting for? Follow me. Qin Laosi was slightly absent-minded. He pulled Qin Hao and left. At this moment, the aunts and uncles in the hall were all anxious. She couldn't wait to chase after him and take back Qin Hao's share. What's the hurry? Let them go. Qin Shilong was so happy that he could not close his mouth. If even Qin Yu could transform from a sickly person to a 6-stage body tempering yuan expert, it was enough to prove that this medicine was not useless. Could it be that Qin Hao would treat others unfairly? Outside the hall. Young master, you finally came out. Lu Yu was really anxious, especially when he saw Qin Hao come out with Qin Dapeng with a dark face. He was even more worried that Qin Hao had suffered inside. Did you bring the medicine? Qin Hao asked. Yes. Lu Yu took out the medicine pot and shook it in front of the two. Qin Hao had already given this to him when he came out of the east courtyard. Qin Hao said that after the hunt, he would definitely treat Qin Yu's illness. A man's promise was as heavy as a mountain. The Luliang liquid you mentioned is this medicine? Qin Laosi could not associate the black pot in front of him with the Luliang liquid mentioned by Qin Hao. Its appearance was too bad. Qin Yu's illness was extremely stubborn. He had searched for famous doctors, but the result was that old man can't help. Haha. You'll know soon. Qin Hao walked towards the north courtyard with a smile. Qin Laosi and Lu Yu looked at each other and hurriedly followed. When they arrived at the north courtyard, although it was not as big as Qin Hao's east courtyard, however, compared to the east courtyard before its decline, the north courtyard was well managed by Qin Laosi. Qin Hao did not waste any time and went straight to Qin Yu's room. Speaking of Qin Yu, his constitution was originally not bad. At least before he was 8 years old, he had shown excellent talent. It was also after that time that his spirit began to wither, and his condition gradually deteriorated. Today, he could not get up and was bedridden like a terminally ill patient. Qin Hao vaguely guessed that someone was jealous of his fourth uncle's child and secretly poisoned him. This poison was colorless and tasteless, so it would not cause immediate death. It would slowly corrode the person's body, and in the end, the person would unknowingly weaken and die. It was not hard to guess who did it. Who else could it be other than Qin Yuhai? Creak. Qin Hao gently pushed open the door. Big brother. A sickly, pale-faced youngster was very surprised. He did not expect Qin Hao to come. He had not seen his big brother for a long time. Quickly lie down. Qin Hao saw that Qin Yu was about to get up, so he immediately helped him back. Maybe it was because they were connected by blood, but at first sight, Qin Hao had a very good impression of Qin Yu. And Qin Yu had always called Qin Hao big brother. Although Qin Hao was only 2 months older than him. Why did big brother come today? As soon as Qin Yu said this, he shook his head and smiled. I'm really stupid. Big brother is not the same as before. He killed a rank 6 ferocious beast and disabled Zhuang Heba. He must have come to tell me good news. The news that Qin Hao won first place in the hunting competition was spread overnight by the servants. Naturally, Qin Yu had heard about it. Thinking of this, a trace of loneliness flashed through his face. If he had not been plagued by a disease, with his talent, he would have been able to contribute to the clan. Even if he was not as brave as his big brother, he would not have let his father be laughed at behind his back. Chapter 30. Very comfortable, very satisfying. Really? Qin Yu's eyes are full of surprise. He excitedly grabs Qin Hao's arm. Then, he weakly lets go. For so many years, his father has searched for famous doctors, but none of them can cure him. Instead, the more he is treated, the worse it gets. In fact, Qin Yu no longer has any hope. But he does not refuse Qin Hao. He extends his hand and says, Big brother, if you want to play, then play. After uncle passed away, we brothers haven't talked for a long time. Qin Hao and Qin Yu can be said to be in the same boat. In the past, they were both good-for-nothing and sickly in the eyes of others. The difference is, Qin Hao was born weak. Qin Yu's body began to deteriorate after the age of 8. When they were young, the two even fought over who should be the boss. Qin Yu solemnly vowed that when he grows up, he will protect Qin Hao. Now, Qin Yu can't even protect himself. Qin Yu speaks endlessly on the side. Qin Hao does not have time to listen to his nonsense. While taking Qin Yu's pulse, he carefully feels every beat. On the surface, Qin Yu's pulse is much weaker than a normal person's. It is indeed a symptom of infection. Qin Hao does not believe it. Taking advantage of Qin Yu's spittle flying everywhere, he grabs Qin Yu's hand. Qin Yu does not even feel the pain. His finger has been cut by the purple meteorite sword, blood seeping out. Sure enough, Qin Hao wipes the blood and smells it. This drop of blood is no different from a normal person's, but it faintly smells foul. He has a conclusion in his heart. The poison in Qin Yu's body is blood-condensing grass. Blood-condensing grass is a very common thing, even rotten on the street. It is mainly used to dissolve the blood and suppress the heat. For example, if a burly man is burning with lust and has nowhere to vent, he can take some blood-condensing grass. In fact, it is harmless and poses no threat to adult. But at certain times, on certain people, it could produce unexpected effects. For example, a growing child. Moreover, it is colorless and odorless when used as medicine. It is a perfect, invisible killer. Qin Yu's childhood is really unfortunate. Hey, why is my hand bleeding? Qin Yu finally finished speaking. Just as he wants to drink some water to moisten his throat, he finds that the skin on his finger is broken. How is it? At this time, Qin Laosi and Lu Yu, who had fallen behind, finally arrived. Qin Hao smiled but didn't say anything. He used his eyes to say, "This illness can be cured." The hemolytic grass was used to dissolve blood. The Luoyang liquid was the exact opposite. It could strengthen the circulation of the blood vessels, repair the meridians, and allow the body to possess vitality. It was simply the right medicine for the illness. Awesome! Qin Laosi was so excited that he couldn't speak coherently. He snatched the medicine from Lu Yu's hand and said, "Come, take a sip. This is the new medicine that father found for you." "No, a bunch of quacks. Didn't you say that the Dansect's medicine was enough?" Qin Yu shook his head repeatedly, determined not to drink. Dansect? Qin Hao silently memorized the name in his heart. It seems that the fake pill that fourth uncle took a month ago should have come from the Ji Dansect. Since it dared to profane the Tao of alchemy, it no longer had any value to exist. How can I not drink it? This was personally prepared by your big brother. Qin Laosi said anxiously. The good medicine was here, and the medicine would cure the disease. My big brother prepared it? Qin Yu immediately became spirited. Yes, I prepared it. Don't you want to know why I was able to reach the fourth stage of body tempering stage from a good-for-nothing? Why I was able to kill a rank 6 ferocious beast and cripple Zhuang Heba? Qin Hao said with a smile. Could it be? Qin Yu's delicate body suddenly trembled as if he had thought of something. I'll drink it, I'll drink it! Qin Laosi secretly gave Qin Hao a thumbs up. This precious son of his would probably only listen to Qin Hao's words. Come. Give me a big mouthful. Wait a minute. Qin Hao was speechless. Fourth uncle lifted the medicine bottle and poured it into Qin Yu's mouth. Brother Yu was so weak. If he took a big mouthful, his body would explode and he would die. Forget about treating him, he should prepare for his funeral. Take a small amount first. We'll talk about it after Brother Yu gets used to it. Qin Hao found a bowl and handed it to Qin Laosi. Qin Laosi slapped his forehead. He immediately understood Qin Hao's intention. How is it? Does it feel good? Does it feel good? Does it feel good? After Qin Yu finished drinking, Qin Laosi asked anxiously. Boom. Qin Yu's delicate body trembled again. His eyes gradually emitted a scorching light. There's a warm current flowing through my body. It's very comfortable, very refreshing, very delightful, very satisfying. My body that had been weak for many years has inexplicably produced a trace of strength. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he even clenched his fist in front of everyone. Ha ha ha! Qin Laosi excitedly raised his head and laughed loudly. 2 drops of sparkling and translucent tears fell from the corners of his eyes. The 6 virtues liquid that Hao concocted was truly miraculous. Qin Hao also laughed. Things were developing according to his judgment. If this continued, it would only be a matter of time before Qin Yu recovered his health. Young Master Yu, the medicine is here. At this moment, a maid brought over a bowl. The bowl was filled with a black liquid. It was the prescription given by the Dan sect. Wait! Qin Hao shouted at the maid to stop. He directly took the bowl from her hand, dipped his finger in the liquid, and put it into his mouth. At this moment, a trace of panic flashed through the maid's face. But immediately, she regained her composure. Countless old men couldn't detect the problem with this medicine. What ability did Qin Hao have? Well, it's too sweet, too greasy. Brother Yu, do you still remember when we climbed the hawthorn tree at the back of the mountain? I brought some today. Qin Hao took out 2 green hawthorn fruits from his pocket, threw them directly into the bowl, and gave it to Qin Yu. Blood-condensing grass was a rotten thing on the street. Naturally, there were also rotten things on the streets to deal with it. The sour hawthorn fruit was its nemesis. The medicine given by the Dan sect contained blood-condensing grass. Now that Qin Hao threw in the hawthorn fruit, the toxicity was immediately neutralized. At best, this medicine was just sweet water. I don't want to drink it, I don't want to drink it. In the future, I'll only drink Big Brother's medicine. Qin Yu hurriedly shook his head. Don't. What you're drinking now is not medicine, it's your feelings. Qin Hao grinned. Okay, I'll drink it. Qin Yu took the bowl and drank it in one gulp. How's the taste? Qin Hao asked. It's sweet and sour, excellent. Qin Yu said with his mouth open. Ha ha ha, everyone in the room burst into laughter. 4th uncle, remember, the medicine given by the Dan sect is too sweet. Every time, you have to throw in 2 unripe hawthorn fruits. Qin Hao warned. Also, Brother Yu, when you drink the 6 fine liquid, you have to increase the amount. You can't drink too much. If you run out, ask Mama Fu for more. I understand. Qin Laosi nodded. This was related to his son's future, so he couldn't be careless. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Brother Yu, you have to be obedient and take your medicine on time. Qin Hao smiled and raised his fist at Qin Yu. Qin Yu was startled, then raised his pale fist. This was a secret signal between the two of them when they were young. It meant be a strong man, a dragon king. Unfortunately, are you feeling better now? After Qin Hao and Lu Yu left, Qin Laosi asked with concern. I'm terminally ill. I'm afraid I don't have much time left. Qin Yu shook his head. In fact, the 6 fine liquid did not work at all. But Qin Yu was not sure. Because when he drank the 6 fine liquid, there was a slight abnormality in his body. A weak warm current rose up like a dream. In the blink of an eye, that warm current sank into the sea and disappeared without a trace. He deliberately lied to Qin Hao because he didn't want to waste his good intentions and make his big brother worry. Although Big Brother's medicine is useless, Father, you can't tell him. After I die, Big Brother will show filial piety to you. Silly child. Qin Laosi stroked Qin Yu's face lovingly, tears of fatherly love wetting his cheeks. It seemed Hao had miscalculated. The 6 fine liquid was not as miraculous as he imagined. Outside the room. Chapter 31. 31st Palm-Red Lotus of Exploding Flame. Early in the morning, the sun had just risen from the east and the people were still sleeping. East of Akita town, a horse was chewing on the tender grass on the side of the road. Beside the horse stood a 15 or 16-year-old boy. The boy's face was cold and handsome, his hair was tied up in a ponytail and there was a short sword at his waist. He looked clean and agile, and had the air of a young hero. It was Qin Hao. Young master, be careful on the road. Qin Hao, Gidge, I will wait for you at home. In front of Qin Hao stood Xiao Han, Lu Yu, and Qin Laosi. After examining Qin Yu's illness yesterday, Qin Hao was certain that the 6-fine liquid was effective. However, it was far from enough to completely eradicate it. He still needed 10 beast cores, even if they were the lowest grade ones. The town was guarded by the 3 great families, and the surrounding beasts had all been killed. Qin Hao went out this time with the strength of the 4th stage of the body tempering stage. He went to the explosive flame mountain 500 miles away. Speaking of which, Qin Laosi should have been the one to do it. However, Qin Hao refused and insisted on going alone. The reasons were very good. First, Qin Yu just got better and needed Qin Laosi to take care of him at home. Second, Qin Hao needed to gain experience and increase his strength. Third, the family was about to start concocting the 6-fine liquid, and the West Mountain mines were handed over to them, so they needed Qin Laosi to preside over the situation. Actually, these were not important at all in the end. Qin Hao went to the explosive flame mountain for a treasure. A treasure that could even annihilate an emperor-level expert. "Uncle Lu, I'll leave the medicine shop to you," Qin Hao urged. "Young master, don't worry." Lu Yu patted his chest and promised. "Girl, no matter if I'm here or not, you have to practice hard. This is a set of sword techniques that I made last night. Although it's only at the low profound level, it's 1,000 times easier than the purple myrtle heavenly rainbow sword." Qin Hao held Xiao Han's hand and gently handed a small book to her. Xiao Han opened it and looked. The explanation inside was very detailed, and there was a picture of a human beside it. It was obvious that Qin Hao had put in a lot of effort. What's more, he had stayed up all night to draw it. "I'll definitely practice diligently and give you a big surprise later." Xiao Han looked up and saw Qin Hao's bloodshot eyes. He couldn't help but feel heartache. "Fourth uncle, I'm leaving. Help me keep an eye on this girl." Qin Hao stroked Xiao Han's little head. His eyes seemed to be saying, "Protect her." "However, don't worry. I will treat little Han as my own daughter," Qin Laosi solemnly said. And Qin Hao nodded. He leaped onto the horse. "However, actually, you have to be careful." Seeing that Qin Hao was about to leave, Qin Laosi was struggling in his heart. The Luoyang liquid simply cannot cure Qin Yu's illness. However, for the sake of his child, Qin Hao went to the volcanic eruption mountain alone. He was only 16 years old and had only reached the 4th stage of the body tempering realm. The volcanic eruption mountain was extremely dangerous. If anything happened to Qin Hao, how could he face his dead brother and sister-in-law? Qin Laosi would live in guilt for the rest of his life. However, Qin Hao did not think so much. Giddy up, with a light shout, the horse galloped away. "Young master, you can do it." Qin Hao gidge, "I will work hard to practice swordsmanship." Xiao Han put her hand to her mouth and shouted. "However, I'm sorry." Qin Laosi began to regret. However, Qin Hao's back was so resolute. "Uncle Lu is in charge of the medicine shop. Don't worry. As for the Luoyang liquid, even if you beat Mama Fu to death, she won't tell you the formula." After settling everything, Qin Hao had nothing to worry about. Lu Yu was originally the #1 bodyguard of the East Courtyard. He had followed his father everywhere. Managing the medicine shop was a piece of cake. Akita town was 500 miles away from the volcanic eruption mountain. It would take at least half a month for a round trip. During this period of time, the family would definitely mobilize people to prepare the medicine. Mama Fu would teach the process of brewing medicine to the servants, but she would not reveal the formula of the Luoyang liquid. As for the Shishan mines, Qin Hao was very satisfied with Qin Shilong's arrangement. Qin Hao hoped that Qin Laosi could become the next family head. The mines must be in the hands of his 4th uncle. As for Xiao Han, because of the jade pendant, old man Zhua had evil intentions. As long as Xiao Han did not leave the Qin residence, with Qin Shilong holding the fort, Zhuo Wentian would not have a chance to make a move. unless he wanted to start a war with the Qin family. Red Lotus, you caused me to be reborn. It's time to repay you. Qin Hao galloped towards the volcanic eruption mountain. Rumor had it that the volcanic eruption mountain was originally called Daqing Mountain. Although the name was a bit old-fashioned, it had green mountains and clear waters. 600 years ago, a heavenly fire suddenly descended and turned Daqing Mountain into a scorched land. It stretched for hundreds of miles and burned for a full year. It was a scene of apocalypse. It was as if a hole had been burned through the sky. The people thought that the gods were angry, so Daqing Mountain was renamed Volcanic Eruption Mountain. However, Qin Hao knew that celestial deity was complete nonsense. Everything started because of him. If he guessed correctly, the fire that descended 600 years ago. It was actually the Red Lotus Fire of the Nine Heavens God Punishment Array. The Red Lotus Fire was the fiercest, most domineering, and most ruthless fire in the world. It was one of the essential elements of the Nine Heavens God Punishment Array. When my physical body was destroyed, the great void cauldron wrapped my spiritual sense and escape. It must have spat out the Red Lotus Fire. Qin Hao blushed with shame when he thought about it. The cauldron loved to eat fire. When it was protecting Qin Hao, it could not help but swallow a few mouthfuls of fire in the array. Later, because the Red Lotus Fire was too domineering, it would hurt Qin Hao's spiritual sense. After weighing the pros and cons, the Great Void Cauldron spat out the fire. In fact, it was far more than that. Not only did the Great Void Cauldron swallow the Red Lotus Fire, but it also swallowed the Nine Heavens Thunder, Qiankuan Earth, Destructive Wind, Judgment Light, and so on. In the end, it was as if it had diarrhea. It flew and pooped until only Qin Hao was left in the cauldron. Of course, Qin Hao was right about one thing. The Great Void Cauldron's purpose was to protect him. In fact, when Qin Hao was reborn, he had a connection with the Great Void Cauldron as soon as he activated it. He vaguely knew the location of the Red Lotus Fire. However, at that time, he had to save Xiaohan. Later, he had to hunt, so it had been delayed until now. The Red Lotus Fire could even destroy an Emperor-level powerhouse. Just thinking about it made him excited. 600 years ago, those old guys really put in a lot of effort to kill me. I don't know how they collected it. It was extremely difficult to obtain the most domineering Red Lotus Fire in the world. At least, after Qin Hao became Dendi, he had not found it. Now that the treasure was right in front of him, how could he miss such a good opportunity? However, there was one thing he could not understand. Since the Great Void Cauldron had brought him here, why did it take 600 years? Why did he have to wait 600 years to reincarnate? And why did he have to choose the young master of the Qin family? That guy who was called Trash Qin. Could it be that there's something special about my body? Qin Hao could not understand. In fact, he was too lazy to think about it. The most important thing was to get the fire. As Dendi, no one wanted the Red Lotus more than Qin Hao. It was simply a divine fire for alchemy. As for whether his body had any secrets, he would slowly find out in the future. After all, when he was reborn, Qin Hao had checked it. To put it bluntly, it's a fighter jet among trash. Chapter 32. Stones on the Trees. Half a month later, at the foot of Flaming Mountain. I've finally arrived. Qin Hao wipes the dust off his face and smiles innocently. Actually, he should have arrived 5 days ago. Because he had to teach some ignorant people a lesson and buy some supplies, he was delayed for a few days. Now, as far as the eye can see, there are many tall buildings at the foot of Flaming Mountain and a sea of people. After 500 years of recuperation, this place has regained its vitality and is full of life. There are also countless rare and exotic beasts in the mountain range. Gradually, more and more people are coming and going, forming a city. This is the world of mercenaries and a paradise for adventurers. Of course, it is also a hell where people are eaten without spitting out the bones. Everything depends on strength. The city at the foot of the mountain is called Flaming Mountain City. Nominally, it is not under anyone's control, but it is backed by the Fengli Temple. After entering the city, Qin Hao is surprised by its prosperity, which is far from what he saw from the outside. Let's buy some bacon first before going into the mountain. Qin Hao nods and makes up his mind. Bypassing the medicinal materials area, he goes to the internal elixir trading market. He wants to see if there are any materials suitable for treating Qin Yu's illness. Qin Yu's body is too weak, so he needs some mild internal elixirs. The white ape's internal elixir is still a bit violent. When he came, his fourth uncle gave him 50,000 taels of silver, which is part of his gambling debt. Including the 30,000 taels Qin Shilong gave him, Qin Hao now has nearly 100,000 taels of silver. He is a rich young master. In addition, when he helped that red-dressed girl kill 3 Gathering Yuan stage martial artists, he also got 1,000 taels of silver. A Gathering Yuan stage martial artist going out with only 1,000 taels of silver, don't you feel ashamed? Qin Hao spits on the ground. Don't miss this opportunity. You can get whatever you want and it's cheap. Don't hesitate, don't hesitate. Oh, are you new here, mister? I have detailed information about all the powers in Flaming Mountain. Since you're new here, I'll give you a discount, 100 taels of silver. A middle-aged man blocks the way. He is not tall and is as thin as a monkey. He hasn't eaten a full meal for several days. 1 tael, Qin Hao tossed over a piece of silver. The middle-aged monkey was ecstatic in his heart, but his face was full of pain, as if 1 tael of silver had insulted his character. All right, 1 tael it is. The middle-aged monkey handed a booklet to Qin Hao. Hey, young master, wait a moment. I still have Buddha's palm, 1 yang finger, wave treading subtle steps, and various other heaven-class techniques, scram. Qin Hao was speechless. How could a heaven-tier cultivation technique be so common? Are you lying to me? You've never been to school, right? Don't. Young master, if you don't like it, I still have old trees with roots, concubines sitting on lotuses, old men pushing small carts and so on. Why are you hitting me? After sending the middle-aged monkey flying with a punch, Qin Hao opened the booklet to read. The introduction was indeed quite detailed, and it recorded a few mercenary groups that should not be provoked. The strength of the commander was all above the Gathering Yuan tier, especially the leader of the Raging Bear mercenary group. He had a protector who had reached the 9th layer of Element Gathering tier by his side, and was only 1 level away from advancing to Master tier. This was very shocking. I have to keep a low profile. Qin Hao sighed slightly. The explosive Flame City was indeed a place with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Young man, wait a moment. I can see that you have an amazing bone structure, extraordinary talent, and a heavenly spirit light spurting out of your head. You are a 1-in-a-million martial arts prodigy. The old man's name is Bai Zihua, and his Taoist title is Deity Durian. He has wandered here and wants to take you as his disciple. 50 taels of silver will be enough. An extremely sloppy old man with messy hair blocked Qin Hao's way. He closed his eyes and felt extremely tall and mighty. Bang! Qin Hao stamped his foot on the old man's face. The old man let out a strange cry and flew out with the footprint of the boot. Pretending to be an expert in front of me? By Zihua, I'm even night gliding. Qin Hao swept his leg and continued to walk forward. Stop, I am night gliding. You attacked me and insulted my reputation. Today I have to teach you a lesson. Of course, if you give me 10 taels of silver. Disappear from my sight immediately. Okay, I'll leave immediately. Before Qin Hao could make a move, a scoundrel left with his tail between his legs. He felt a cold killing intent from this young man. After spending many years in explosive Flame City, he still had the ability to discern. If he continued to pester endlessly, he might become a dead man soon. Phew! Qin Hao heaved a sigh of relief. Bai Zihua, night gliding, what the hell were these? There were many experts in Explosive Flame City, and there were so many scammers. He turned around. Qin Hao's attention was attracted by a stall in the distance. The owner of the stall was a man. His shoulders were bare, and his body was covered with scratches. It was a shocking sight. He did not boast like others. If others did not ask, he would just sit quietly. There was a small piece of black stone in the stall. Qin Hao was attracted by the black stone, but he could not see through its material. At this moment, the great void cauldron in his mind released a signal, as if telling Qin Hao that it needed that piece of black stone very much. How much is it? Qin Hao walked over, pointed at the black stone, and asked. 3,000 taels. The man raised his head. There was a scar on his left eye. He was actually a one-eyed man. Ha ha! 3,000 taels? You might as well rob. Little brother, don't be fooled by him. Come, come, come. Take a look at my stall. That's right. 3,000 taels for a piece of black stone. He's obviously extorting us. The other stall owners stood up for Qin Hao. The commotion attracted a large number of passers-by. The other items are 20 taels each. Only this black stone is 3,000 taels, not a cent less. The man's tone was very firm. The onlookers were surprised. The prices of the other items were reasonable, but why was this black stone so expensive? Not only was it expensive, but it was also frighteningly black. No one would pick up such a piece of black stone even if it was thrown on the street. I don't know what use it is. I can even say that it's useless. But, the man clenched his fists and looked pained. For this black stone, a few of my brothers sacrificed their lives. It turned out that he and a few of his brothers went into the mountain and found this black stone on a tree. The black stone was embedded in the tree as if it had grown into it. One of his brothers was very curious and pinched it to take a look. This action attracted a large number of wolverines. Wolverines were ferocious beasts in the periphery of Blazing Mountain. They were also the weakest, just like the rank 6 white ape that Qin Hao had killed. But their numbers were too shocking. There were more than a dozen of them. In that battle, all of the man's brothers died. He was the only one who came back alive. His body was covered in blood, and his eyes were blinded by the wolverines. My brothers risked their lives to open up a bloody path. I had to take care of their families. 3,000 taels, not a cent less. Speaking of this, the man's eyes turned red. He tried his best not to let his tears fall. The onlookers sighed. They had thought that the black stone was extraordinary, but it turned out to be a rotten stone on a tree. At this moment, no one sympathized with the man's experience. After all, who didn't live a life of bloodshed in Blazing Mountain City? Who didn't have some tragic experiences? Only a fool would buy his rotten stone. I want this black stone. Boom! Qin Hao's words shocked the passers-by. He actually wanted to buy this rotten stone. While speaking, Qin Hao took out 3,000 taels of banknotes and even 2 extra banknotes and handed them to the stall owner. Thank you, thank you. The man trembled as he received the banknote. His eyes were filled with gratitude. Although he only had one eye, the tears in his eyes were very sincere. Wait, I also want this black stone. Chapter 33. Just give in to me. In other people's eyes, Qin Hao using 3,000 taels of silver to buy a piece of useless stone was simply too stupid. No, he was a prodigal. This kid turned out to be a rich young master. He must have a lot of money on him. In an instant, everyone's eyes were filled with greed. This was clearly a big fat sheep. Murders and robberies were common in the exploding flame city. Moreover, Qin Hao was still alone. Then, the opportunity had come. However, no one expected that someone would make a move in broad daylight. Everyone, including Qin Hao, turned to look at the owner of the voice. This was a fat man with a fat body. Behind the fatty were 3 ferocious, burly men. Immediately, everyone retreated in unison, and their gazes were filled with fear. Because the word jackal was embroidered on the fatty's chest. They were from the Lupus mercenary group. There were also people who recognized this fatty. His name was Zhou Batong, nicknamed Little Silverworm. He was the younger brother of one of the elders of the Lupus mercenary group, and his status was not low. Qin Hao narrowed his eyes and filtered the information in his mind. It was written clearly in the booklet he had bought. The Fortune Wolf mercenary group was one of the top 3 mercenary groups in Exploding Flame City. However, their captain had already reached the 5th layer of element gathering tier. It was not something that Qin Hao could fight against, at least not for now. It's just a useless stone. What do you want it for? Qin Hao said expressionlessly. I like it. I'm willful. You have to give it to me. The fatty raised his head and looked at Qin Hao mockingly. He licked his lips and looked extremely wretched. Give it to you? What a joke. Qin Hao turned around and left. He had no time to talk nonsense with him. However, the 3 burly men had already blocked Qin Hao's path. How about this? I'll give you a copper coin and you sell it to me. Of course, that includes you. Zhou Buodong's expression became even more arrogant. The way he looked at Qin Hao became even more fanatical, and a string of saliva flowed out from the corner of his mouth. It was as if he wasn't looking at a young man, but a beautiful woman. It's over. This brat is done for. Isn't the little silver worm's reputation undeserved? Another naive youth is going to suffer under his vicious hands. Zhou Buodong's big brother is the elder of the Lupus mercenary group, and he has a strong background. Moreover, he is the regiment commander's right-hand man. I wonder how this young man will be played to death by him. The crowd sighed. The heavens must be blind to let such a good fat sheep fall into the little silver worm's mouth. At the same time, some people began to sympathize with Qin Hao. Zhou Batong had a fetish for cutting off sex, and he had harmed many boys. Without exception, all the boys who were defiled by him did not have a good ending. He must have taken a fancy to that young man's looks. Grandpa Zhou, please be magnanimous and don't make things difficult for this little brother. I'm willing to give you the Blackstone for free. At this time, the Blackstone seller stood up and bowed to Zhou Batong to put in a good word. Although his heart was filled with grief, the black stone had cost the lives of his brothers. However, there was nothing he could do. He did not want to see Qin Hao being defiled by Zhou Batong. Qin Hao was a good person. Little brother, I don't want the money. Hurry up and leave. The man took out a banknote and was about to give it to Qin Hao, asking him to leave quickly. Did I let him leave? Zhou Buodong's treacherous voice rang out. Grandpa Zhou, you. The man turned his head. Bang! A heavy leg came towards him. The fatty's underling kicked the man away. How dare a dog block Grandpa Zhou's way of doing things? Creak! Qin Hao clenched his fists tightly. The man was heavily injured and had not recovered yet. He had begged so humbly, but this Zhou guy. Hee little beauty, I advise you to obediently follow me and avoid physical pain. Of course, if you resist, you will still have to follow me. Maybe that will be more exciting. Scream, struggle, let Grandpa hear your beautiful cries for help and wails, ha. Zhou Batong walked over lecherously and reached out a greasy hand towards Qin Hao's chin. Qin Hao's eyes suddenly tightened. Could it be that this fatty was a pedophile? Damn it, I am an alchemy emperor and I was actually… Zhou, don't go too far. Just as Qin Hao was about to explode, an angry shout rang out. The man who sold the black stone struggled. Blood flowed from his forehead and his eyes. He gritted his teeth and came to Qin Hao's side. Little brother, run. Dog, how dare you block my beautiful matter? Cripple him. Zhou Batong was also furious. He waved his hand and pointed at the man. Swish! A blade came from the side. This blade was extremely ruthless. It directly slashed towards the man's head. Damn it, the man had already anticipated the danger. However, his injuries were acting up and his body could not react. He was about to die in the hands of the lupus mercenary group. Sigh. Qin Hao sighed slightly. Originally, he was going to leave with Zhou Batong. When he reached a place where there was no one, he could kill him all at once. Even if he killed him, no one would find out. She could even take away his money at the same time. However, this Blackstone seller, he raised his hand. His 2 fingers easily caught the blade that was slashing towards him. It stopped right beside the man's cheek. It was hanging by a thread. Alright, I'll show you how I resist. Qin Hao twisted his finger. Crack. The blade broke, it easily stabbed into the man's chest. You damn it, boom. The fatty's subordinate crawled on the ground. He couldn't be more dead. Oh my God, so fast. My eyes must be blind. There was an uproar in the surroundings. In their opinion, the Blackstone seller was dead meat. They did not expect this young man to be a martial artist. Moreover, his strength was not low. However, they immediately rejoiced in his misfortune. He dared to kill Zhou Batong's subordinate. Didn't he know that the lupus mercenary group was guarding the exploding flame city today? This young man was dead meat. Bastard, Zhou Batong was in a daze for a moment. When he regained his senses, he was furious. Ergu had followed him for many years and had the strength of a body tempering stage 3. This young man took Ergu's life in one move. His strength was above body tempering stage 3. Break his arms and legs. Don't ruin his handsome face. I want to torture him to death. Even now, Zhou Batong was still obsessed with Qin Hao's looks, as expected of the little silver worm. Kill. The remaining 2 men were not fools. Their strength was the same as Ergu's body tempering stage 3. Ergu was killed in one hit. He could not resist at all. Immediately, the 2 men attacked Qin Hao at the same time. They followed Zhou Batong's orders and did not aim for his vital points. They only wanted to break his arms and legs. Idiots! Qin Hao dodged to the side, avoiding the attacks of the 2, and pointed a finger Pucci. The golden finger pierced one of the men's back and pierced his heart. Ergu, the remaining woman, was devastated when she saw Ergu fall. They were sisters and had served Zhou Batong for many years. Now 2 of them were dead. I'll kill you! Huang was furious. He completely forgot Zhou Batong's orders and slashed at Qin Hao's face. This young man must die. Let's end this. Qin Hao did not move. He placed his hand on his waist. Swoosh! There was a flash of purple light. Huang froze on the spot. A trace of blood appeared on his face. Then, the sword in his hand slowly broke into 2. He entered the King of Hell's palace with a look of disbelief. Ergu, Huang! Zhou Batong looked at the scene in shock. In just a few seconds, they were all dead. Chapter 34. Take your head. The surrounding people also sighed. This youth had the guts of a leopard. Not only did he resist Zhou Batong, he even killed 3 of his concubines. The 3 concubines were all at body tempering stage 3. Yet, they were cut down like vegetables by the youth. Especially the last strike, which broke Huang's saber. That sword was extraordinary. How was it? Are you satisfied with the result of your resistance? Qin Hao walked coldly towards Zhou Batong with his sword in hand. Do you choose to commit suicide to avoid dirtying my hands, or do you want to struggle? Perhaps it would be more exciting if you were to struggle. Scream. Let us hear your beautiful cries for help. Qin Hao pointed his sword at Zhou Batong. Good sword, good sword. After the initial shock, Zhou Batong was not afraid at all. He stared at the purple meteorite sword in Qin Hao's hand. So it was a sharp weapon. Huang's saber was not an ordinary weapon either. It was a high-grade mortal weapon. Yet, it was broken by Qin Hao. "Oh heavens, oh earth, why did you send such a beautiful woman to me? She even brought a dowry." Zhou Buodong's eyes glowed. He wanted the person and the sword, too. "You don't seem to be afraid at all." Qin Hao raised his guard. What am I afraid of? You're only at body tempering stage 4. I'm at body tempering stage 6. Ha ha. Zhou Batong laughed loudly. He stomped his foot, crushing the stone floor beneath him. The strength of a body tempering stage 6 was completely unleashed. The surrounding people shook their heads and sighed. Qin Hao still could not escape from the little silver worm's clutches. The Blackstone seller was also very worried, but there was nothing he could do. Oscillating fist. Zhou Batong made his move. He used his special skill. Oscillating fist was a high-grade yellow skill. It was very powerful. Weak and powerless, Qin Hao did not even bother to use his sword. His golden finger pierced straight through. Zhou Batong was ecstatic. This kid did not use a sharp weapon, but directly sent his hand over. It made sense. Whether it was speed, strength, or explosive power, this kid was on a completely different level compared to a body tempering stage 6. Even if they had sharp weapons, they wouldn't be able to cut it. But in the next second, Zhou Batong was shocked. Qin Hao pierced his fist through the gaps between his fingers and directly into his wrist. With a burst of strength, the golden finger shattered his entire arm. Zhou Buodong's oscillating fist didn't cause any damage to Qin Hao. Zhou Batong screamed like a pig being slaughtered and rolled on the ground. Boom! The spectators were thunderstruck. The body tempering stage 6 little silver worm was defeated. That young man is only at the 4th layer of body tempering realm, but why is his finger technique so sharp? You hid your strength. Zhou Buodong's right arm disappeared, and his eyes were filled with fear. Qin Hao didn't answer. He walked over coldly like the Grim Reaper. In fact, it could also be said that he was hiding his strength. Qin Hao's body tempering realm stage 4 was comparable to body tempering realm stage 6 due to the art of indestructible reincarnation. Regardless of speed, strength, or explosive power, he was definitely stronger than a body tempering stage 6. Golden Finger was a high-grade Heaven Tier Yuan skill. Heaven rank against Yellow rank, there was no suspense at all. Zhou Batong was an idiot. You dare to kill me? My big brother is... Shrouded by the shadow of death, Zhou Batong was about to mention his flirtatious big brother in an attempt to scare Qin Hao to death. Bang! Qin Hao stomped down, pressing Zhou Buodong's head to the ground so hard that the stone floor was crushed. I was wrong. Young hero, please spare my life. Let me go. Zhou Batong raised his blood-stained face. His body was filled with the stench of urine. Qin Hao frowned. Let you go? Did you let me go just now? When the Blackstone seller begged you, did you let him go? When you abused those boys, did you let them go? No. I don't want to die. My big brother is awesome. Swoosh. A sword slashed across, and Zhou Buodong's voice stopped abruptly. His head rolled, and his expression was one of despair. Gulp. The spectators swallowed their saliva. The little silver worm that was popular in Explosive Flame City died just like that? It died in the hands of a young man. Oh my God! They thought he was a fat sheep and wanted to rob him of his money. At this moment, fear spread in everyone's heart. Qin Hao was not a fat sheep that could be slaughtered. He was a killing god that could not be provoked. However, he did not have long to live. This was because he had offended the entire Lupus mercenary group. Qin Hao did not have the time to idle. After killing Zhou Batong, he quickly searched through the corpse and found a large amount of banknote. Don't just stand there. Run. The Blackstone seller was the first to react. Without saying anything, he pushed Qin Hao away. Today, the Lupus mercenary group was on duty. If they did not leave now, they would not be able to leave later. Haha. Everyone has a share. Keep it well. Qin Hao turned around and threw the stack of banknotes to the crowd. Wah! The banknotes fluttered like snowflakes falling from the sky. In an instant, the absent-minded crowd immediately reacted and started to snatch the banknotes on the ground. This young man's character was not bad. Killing Zhou Badong was also a good thing for the people. Compared to those good-looking but useless fellows, he was a young hero. What happened? Oh my God, Master Zhou! The Lupus mercenary group heard the commotion and finally rushed over. However, they were too late. Who did it? A captain-level person glared with bloodshot eyes and roared. Today, his team was on duty, and Zhou Badong was killed right under his nose. If the elder blamed them, no one would be able to live. They would all be buried together with the little silver worm. They had to find the murderer and cut him into pieces to appease the elder's anger. It was an old man in his 50s. He called himself Immortal Durian, by Zihua. The Blackstone seller pointed to the south. He ran towards the south. That's right. The old man ran towards the south. We all saw it. The people snatching the banknotes all pointed to the south. F***ck. Bai Zihua hid in a corner and cursed. Then, he turned into a cloud of dust and disappeared without a trace. Some of you chase after him. The rest of you guard the scene. Do not touch the corpse. Quickly report to Elder Zhou Shintong. The leader of the Lupus mercenary group immediately gave the order. At this moment, Qin Hao had already used the water wind god steps to rush towards the explosive flame mountain in the north. He was very grateful to the Blackstone seller for providing false information to the enemy. As for that immortal Durian, he was on his own. In the messy crowd, an abnormally tall man dressed in black looked in the direction that Qin Hao had fled with a cold smile on his face. He was emitting a murderous aura. His figure flashed and disappeared. This man was called Heisha. He was ranked 5th on the Heaven's Wall City Assassin ranking. Someone in Akita town offered 100,000 taels of silver for Qin Hao's head. He followed Qin Hao all the way here. His target was Qin Hao. He had seen all of Qin Hao's movements just now. He was in the 4th tier of body tempering realm and had the strength of a 6th tier body tempering realm cultivator. Heisha analyzed everything. He was quite disdainful of this. Qin Hao was like an ant. He even had to trouble an expert in the 3rd tier of element gathering realm to deal with him. Chapter 35. The old man was furious. Explosive Flame Mountain Range Qin Hao left the city and fled all the way to this place. In front of him was a dense forest. He heaved a sigh of relief. If he was caught, the consequences would be dire. The erupting Flame Mountain Range was one of the 6 dangerous places in the Jiang Kingdom. It was divided into the outer area, the inner area, and the core area. The beasts that roamed the periphery were usually ferocious beasts. The inner area was filled with ferocious beasts and was filled with danger. As for the core area, there were even more powerful Xian beasts. It was rumored that 20 years ago, Jiang Wushang, the top expert of the Jiang Kingdom, had reached the Origin Sage realm but had only stayed in the core area of the explosive Flame Mountain for 2 days. By the time he came out, he was already on the verge of death and was close to becoming a cripple. With Qin Hao's current level, it would be difficult for him to survive in the outer circle. Of course, his goal this time was to obtain the Red Lotus Fire. According to the Great Void Cauldron, the Red Lotus Fire was between the outer and inner regions of the volcanic eruption mountain. I wonder what use the Blackstone has. The Great Void Cauldron seemed to desire that stone very much. Right now, it was time to find a secluded place to study it. Qin Hao was a little excited. After entering the mountain, they found a cave. The entrance of the cave was covered by a large tree, making it an excellent hiding spot. Qin Hao immediately took out the black stone. In the end, after observing for a long time, he found nothing. What the hell is this? Looking at the black stone in his hand, Qin Hao was a little speechless. In the end, he was gradually disappointed. 1. Suddenly, the great void cauldron in his mind reacted and burst out with a strong purple-gold light. From the outside, Qin Hao's head was as bright as a giant light bulb. Then, he felt a wave of pain. The great void cauldron left his body and floated in front of Qin Hao. With the mouth of the cauldron facing downward, it aimed at Qin Hao's palm and sucked in the black stone. Qin Hao was very surprised, but he didn't dare to move. He had a premonition that something magical was about to happen. As expected, after the great void cauldron absorbed the black stone, its light became even more intense. It was so blinding that one could not open their eyes. Qin Hao hurriedly blocked it with his hand. When he opened his eyes again, a small and exquisite ring appeared in front of him. This could it be? Qin Hao's face was full of shock, which slowly turned into ecstasy. Without any hesitation, he put the ring on his finger. Boom! At this moment, a connection was established between the two of them once again, and a huge amount of information flooded in. As expected, Qin Hao's voice was full of excitement, and his body was trembling. The black stone was a void spirit stone that was hard to come by even in 1,000 years. The great void cauldron had evolved after swallowing the black stone. No, it wasn't an evolution. Rather, it was the restoration of a portion of the divine artifact's functions. An alternate dimension was created within it, and it had the ability to store items. To put it bluntly, it was similar to the legendary spatial ring. However, it was not a simple spatial ring, but a divine artifact that could store things. The ability of a divine artifact was unpredictable. It could change its appearance at any time according to its owner's wishes. However, the types of changes were very limited. Based on the current situation, the Great Void Cauldron could only switch between a cauldron and a ring. Perhaps it had sensed Qin Hao's current situation and was lacking an important storage tool. In fact, the surprise it brought was far more than that. The moment Qin Hao put the ring on his finger, it was as if he was sitting on a rocket, and his cultivation base had risen by 2 levels. He had advanced from the 4th level of body tempering to the 6th level of body tempering. This long-awaited power, my body. Qin Hao was really pleasantly surprised. In his previous life, when his strength had reached the level of a Yuan zone, he had painstakingly refined a trashy small sumeru pouch. The sumeru pouch could shrink and expand, and it was used to store things like a spatial ring. The space inside was very narrow. After becoming a Yuan zone, he had obtained his first Qiankuan pouch. The space inside was very large, enough to store a mountain. However, the spatial ring transformed by the Great Void Cauldron was more than 10 times larger than the Qiankuan pouch. More importantly, it had swallowed the black stone and also raised Qin Hao's cultivation base. As expected of a god-grade powerhouse's magic weapon, Qin Hao was in a good mood because of the double happiness. Since his cultivation base had increased, his cultivation technique naturally could not lag behind. In the next few days, he cultivated the indestructible samsara technique in the cave. He had to raise his body tempering technique to the 6th level. The superposition of 6 levels was comparable to an ordinary 8th level body tempering realm, or even stronger. At the very least, even if he could not defeat an Yuan Gathering Realm martial artist, escaping should not be a problem. The big brother of the little silver worm was an Yuan Gathering Realm martial artist. 5 days later, Qin Hao walked out of the cave with a smile on his face and steady steps. The confidence on his face showed that he had become much stronger. Cracking sounds could be heard as he twisted his neck. Qin Hao punched out and hit a big tree in front of him. Crack! A wide crack appeared on the tree trunk, and the crack spread like lightning. Then, the 20-meter-tall giant tree turned into sawdust. "You're even stronger than I imagined." Qin Hao had successfully raised his body tempering technique to the 6th level. What surprised him was that the power of this punch proved that his 6th-level body tempering realm was much stronger than others' 8th-level body tempering realm. The indestructible samsara technique was really powerful. Murderous aura. Stunned, Qin Hao was on high alert. There was a terrifying aura coming from afar at a very fast speed. It was obvious that the person was extraordinary and was not someone Qin Hao could fight against. The person's aura was firmly locked on Qin Hao. It was obvious that he was coming for him. Could it be the big brother of the little silver worm? Qin Hao's strength had just improved, and now he was facing a tough opponent. Unfortunately, he could not defeat him at the moment. Run. Making a prompt decision, Qin Hao used the water wind steps and went deeper into the explosive flame mountain. The further he went, the more ferocious beasts there were. However, Qin Hao knew that it was safer to go that way. Because of the mixed aura of the ferocious beasts, the enemy would not be able to accurately capture him. After running for a long time, the terrifying aura was getting closer and closer. Just as it was about to catch up with Qin Hao, it mysteriously disappeared. At this moment, Qin Hao was so tired that he fell on the ground. His whole body was soaked in sweat, and he was panting heavily. Strange, why did it suddenly disappear? Thinking about it, he was a little scared. Even the water wind divine steps could not shake off this person. His strength was at least at the 3rd layer of element gathering tier. Hey, brat, throw that piece of wood next to you over. An old voice sounded. Qin Hao turned to look. There was an old man squatting in front of him. The old man was extremely dirty. His clothes were full of patches and his face was black. He looked even more sloppy than Durian Immortal by Ziji. Could he be by Ziji's big brother? Another guy who swindled people for food. Qin Hao curled his lips in disdain. Brat, I told you to throw the wood over. The old man spoke again, and his tone was somewhat unhappy. Qin Hao was also full of anger. After being chased for so long, he wanted to rush over and beat up by Ziji's big brother. Only then did he realize that the old man was warming himself by the fire. No, he was refining medicine. This time, Qin Hao was shocked. As Denda's rebirth, he was very sensitive to medicinal ingredients. There was a medicine pot in front of the old man, and a strong medicinal fragrance spread out. Qin Hao could almost determine how many medicinal ingredients the old man used based on the medicinal fragrance. He could even feel the amount clearly. Old man told you to throw the wood over. I already shouted 3 times, did you hear me? Do you believe that I will beat you up? Chapter 36. I will only accept one disciple in my life. Just throw it away, your temper is not small. Qin Hao raised his hand and threw the wood over. This old man was a little strange. It was better to avoid trouble and not provoke him. Humph. The old man took the wood and his face eased a bit. He quickly put the wood into the bonfire. This medicine was too important. Qin Hao curled his lips. He stood up and looked behind him. The enemy chasing him suddenly disappeared. It was indeed strange. However, it was also a good thing. Patting his butt, Qin Hao continued to walk forward. When he passed by the old man, he could not help but frown. Your pot is about to explode. Nonsense, the old man is very careful. How could it explode? The old man was angry. The kid in front of him did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, simply talking nonsense. 3 parts of the ox tendon grass, 7 parts of the blood vine, 1 part of the purple lilies, 2 flame fruits. Oh right, the flame fruit you used is not ripe yet, right? Qin Hao smiled and listed all the ingredients in the medicine pot, not missing a single bit. The old man's face flashed with a hint of surprise. How did this kid know so much? Yes, the old man did use an unripe fruit. The old man's face was filled with arrogance. In the entire Heaven's Wall city, only the Pill sect leader had the qualifications to be compared with his alchemy skills. The kid in front of him must be blindly guessing. Yes, the ingredients are very reasonable. However, your pot is still going to explode. Qin Hao chuckled twice. Get lost. The old man hurriedly waved his hand to let Qin Hao leave. If he lost his cool, he might do something terrible to him. If you don't believe me, then forget it. Qin Hao turned and left. He reminded him out of kindness, but he did not appreciate it. Little brat, your father has no eyes when he gives birth. Your grandfather is malnourished. His body is short, thin, and yellow. He has diarrhea 8 times a day before he can save your father. You are also malnourished, you can't grow tall. The old man did not have the demeanor of an elder. He spat a mouthful of thick phlegm at Qin Hao's back. His words were extremely vulgar. That brat was too hateful. The old man was such a cunning person, how could he make a mistake? The medicine pot will explode? He wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Crack. A crack appeared on the medicine pot. There are cracks. The old man felt that it was inconceivable. Maybe his eyes were playing tricks on him. If he moved closer, he would be able to see it more clearly. In the end, as soon as he put his face on the medicine pot, bang! A shocking sound rang out. The medicine pot in front of him turned into a sky full of porcelain shards, flying out like sharp blades. What was shocking was that the old man's face didn't even break the skin. Instead, the medicinal liquid inside had sprayed all over his head, making him look like a mess. Ah! My pot, my medicine, my flame fruit, old man's painstaking efforts. The old man was so angry that he beat his chest and stamped his feet. His heart ached. Then, he looked at Qin Hao with hatred. It was that brat. He must have done something. Otherwise, why would the medicine pot explode? He was the one who had cast the vicious curse just now. He had to pay the price. The old man didn't move. There wasn't even a fluctuation of vitality. An afterimage flashed past. His squatting body appeared beside Qin Hao out of thin air and grabbed Qin Hao's shoulder. Tell me, what sorcery did you use? Qin Hao was shocked. What an astonishing speed. I didn't do anything. Don't accuse a good person. How dare you lie to me? The pot exploded. There's something wrong with your materials. Of course it exploded. T. You don't believe me? Qin Hao glared at him. I don't believe you. The old man was furious. There's nothing wrong with old man's materials. All right. Qin Hao sighed. In fact, among your 4 main materials, that 3-part ox tendon grass. How is it? The old man asked warily. There's no problem. Qin Hao replied. Phew. The old man breathed a sigh of relief. But that 7-part chicken blood vine. Qin Hao suddenly stopped. The old man's heart was in his throat. Was there a problem with the chicken blood vine? There's no problem. Qin Hao rubbed his nose. The old man's hanging heart was finally relieved. The point is 1 or 2 purple lilies. There's absolutely no problem with the purple lilies. The old man didn't wait for Qin Hao to finish speaking and interrupted him. Of course there's no problem with the purple lilies. In fact, it's useless. Why did you put it in? Qin Hao was also speechless. The old man was superfluous. Nonsense, don't try to deceive this old man. That purple orchid, it really doesn't seem to be of any use. The old man thought about it and found that the purple orchid really didn't have the slightest effect on the decoction. Qin Hao shook his head. He ignored the strange old man and chose to leave. Wait, I haven't finished speaking. The old man blocked his way. I'm finished. Qin Hao widened his eyes. This old man had a mental problem. Since there's no problem with the cow tendon grass, the chicken blood vine, and the purple lilies, then the problem, boom. The old man understood. Qin Hao just said that there were no problems with the 3 main ingredients. Then, the problem was the flame fruit. Impossible, impossible. Old man has tested many times. The amount of 2 is just right. 1 less, no, half a fruit will affect the efficacy of the medicine. A little more will cause the furnace to explode. 2 fruits are just right. The old man was so anxious that his eyes were red. He waved his hands and kept tearing his hair. He almost went crazy. According to common sense, your combination is reasonable. The key is, the flame fruit will expand when it is evaporated. Qin Hao was ashamed for the old man. He didn't even understand such a simple principle. The flame fruit will expand, yes, it will expand, ha ha ha. The old man raised his head and laughed. In an instant, he was thoroughly enlightened by Qin Hao. The flame fruit was a strong medicinal herb. After it was evaporated, its volume would expand. The medicine pot was so small. Then, boom. In order to prevent the expansion, old man has already used unripe fruit. In the end, the furnace will still explode. Is there any way to neutralize it? The old man asked. There's no way to neutralize it. The flame fruit is too fierce. You can only throw 2 pieces of ice in before the medicine takes shape. Qin Hao rolled his eyes. It's that simple? The old man was unwilling. It's that simple. Qin Hao couldn't be bothered with him anymore and prepared to leave. You can't leave. The old man exerted strength under his palm and grabbed Qin Hao's shoulder tightly. His eyes became scorching. Good boy, you know a lot. Old man has 1 less disciple. In so many years, I've only taken in 1 disciple. You're very lucky to be chosen by me. Not interested. Qin Hao muttered in a low voice. I'm Dendi. How can I be someone else's disciple? You, the old man was shocked. He didn't expect to be rejected. Many people dreamed of being his disciple, even if it was just a nominal disciple. However, he didn't accept any of them. However, he took the initiative to look for Qin Hao and was rejected by Qin Hao. It's not up to you. The old man decided to capture Qin Hao even if he had to. He was such a good seedling. Unconsciously, the old man's saliva flowed out. Crazy! Qin Hao was about to resist when he noticed the old man's strange gaze. He seemed to have seen it somewhere before. Boom! His head heated up. At this moment, Zhou Budong's fat face appeared in his mind and gradually overlapped with the old man in front of him. This expression, this gaze, and the crystal-clear saliva at the corner of his mouth. It was exactly the same. Especially when the old man said, I've taken a liking to you. It turned out that this old man was also a pedophile. He was an old fart. Damn it. Qin Hao was burning with anger. The strength of a body-tempering stage 6 exploded. He shook his shoulder and was about to shatter the old man's palm. However, Qin Hao was shocked. He was in despair. This was because he realized that the strength of a body-tempering stage 8 was like a stone sinking into the sea. It didn't even hurt a hair on the old man. What was more terrifying was that the old man didn't even defend. He was completely relaxed and easily accepted Qin Hao's shock force. This old man. Chapter 37. A great benefit, hee hee. Are you going to obey me obediently? Or do you want to resist? It's useless to resist. You still have to follow me. Maybe it's more exciting that way. Scream and struggle. The old man likes to see people in despair and helplessness. Ha ha. The old man licked his lips and stretched out a withered hand towards Qin Hao's chin. Crack. Qin Hao felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Even his tone and actions were exactly the same. Could it be that the other party was the silver worm's big brother? However, his strength was completely different from the information. At this moment, Qin Hao was truly in despair. Suddenly, a black shadow came into view in the distance. Even though it was very fast, it did not escape Qin Hao's eyes. The black shadow hid behind a hill. It turned out that the enemy who had followed them hadn't left, but had concealed his aura. Old man, your enemy wants to kill you. He's hiding behind that mountain. Run. Qin Hao suddenly shouted as he pointed at the hill opposite them. Which scoundrel is sneaking around? Come out for the old man. The old man immediately gave up on Qin Hao, turned around, and slapped out. Under his palm, Yuan Qi surged like a flood, condensing into a beam of light. The beam of light pierced through the entire mountain, destroying half of it. The sky was filled with falling rock. Master Yuan! Qin Hao's mouth was wide open, and his jaw almost dropped to the ground. As soon as the old man made his move, he immediately judged his strength. Run. If he didn't run now, when would he? Qin Hao couldn't fight against Yuan Shi's old fart at the moment. Faintly, Qin Hao even felt that the old man's palm strike was not his full strength. Qin Hao predicted that the other party was at least a 6-star Yuan master. No, perhaps it had reached 7 stars. A 7-star Yuan master wasn't scary, but a 7-star Yuan master who knew alchemy was very scary. He would definitely use all kinds of medicinal pills to strengthen his body infinitely. Qin Hao was someone who had been through this before. In his previous life, he had used all kinds of pills to strengthen his abilities to the limit. His combat power was enough to rival the berserk Zhan Wu. At this moment, he didn't dare to hesitate any longer. He used the water wind steps and fled towards the exploding flame mountain. It was the same for the killer who was tracking Qin Hao. It let out a frightened cry and ran away in a panic like a wild dog. Fortunately, Qin Hao's voice was loud enough for him to hear it. Otherwise, he would really be slapped to death by this old thing. Even so, he was still affected and suffered serious internal injuries. How is it? Old man, isn't he? You'd better obey me obediently and follow me back to the mountain to be my disciple. The old man put his hands behind his back, looking like an expert. He didn't look behind him. Oh, I understand. You must be impatient to know what benefits there are, right? The old man coughed lightly and cleared his throat. He said in a deep voice, "First, I'll reveal my identity and blind your dog eyes. Old man is the honorary elder of Fengli Temple, but don't underestimate the word honorary. Everyone below the sect leader has to bow and scrape when they see old man. Even the head elder has to smile and talk to me softly." Qin Hao didn't answer because he had already left. What? You don't believe me? With old man's alchemy skills, 90% of Fengli Temple's medicinal pills are maintained by old man. Even the sect leader has to show me some respect. The old man raised 3 fingers behind his back. Become my disciple. You don't need to cultivate at all. With 1 origin strengthening pill, you'll reach the Gathering Yuan realm within a year. If you're willing to work hard, you'll definitely surpass me within 3 years. You won't be like the disciples of the other elders, working like a dog just to cultivate. Become my disciple. You'll have a transcendent status. No one in Fengli Temple will dare to bully you. If anyone dares to touch you, the old man will exterminate their entire family. Become my disciple. You'll have endless money. If you take out a pill, people will fight over it. Become my disciple. You'll have a group of beauties to choose from. Even the sect leader's daughter is fine, not to mention the head elder, second elder, third elder, fourth elder. Forget it, their daughters are too old. Granddaughters are more suitable. How about it? Are you moved? Are you excited? Are you excited? You must be kneeling on the ground and worshipping me right now, right? Good disciple, I'm so touched. As the old man spoke, 2 drops of tears actually fell. I didn't think that I would only have the idea of taking in a disciple when I'm about to die. My temper isn't good. It's also because the people I met before were too stupid and didn't meet my standard. You're my only disciple. Let's go, disciple. He turned around. Where's he? Whoosh. A cold wind blew. The old man looked at the empty ground, confused by the wind. Qin Hao actually ran away. The old man's expression turned ugly. He raised his head and looked in the direction of Explosive Flame Mountain. Qin Hao must have run there. Then, he shook his head helplessly. No matter how unwilling he was, He couldn't force the other party if he didn't want to. If fate brought them together, they would meet again. However, it seemed that Xiaowan was also in the mountain. At that thought, he looked at the exploded medicine pot with a slight heartache. The sect leader's precious daughter's cold energy had entered her body, and she didn't have long to live. There was a medicine in the medicine pot that used fire to remove the cold energy. It was prepared to prolong Chen Wanqin's life. However, this was already his 99th failure. Even with his top-notch alchemy skills, he couldn't even cure a little girl's illness. At that moment, the proud old man's face was filled with helplessness. In the mountain, Qin Hao was extremely shocked. He plunged into a cave. He stayed there for 5 days and 5 nights, not daring to show his face. There was an old lunatic outside who was trying to capture him. His strength had reached the level of a 7-star Yuan master. There was also an assassin hiding in the dark with ill intentions. Qin Hao knew that the old man didn't kill the assassin. At this moment, he definitely couldn't go out rashly. Otherwise, he would die a horrible death. He originally thought that he could be domineering after increasing his cultivation level. However, the heavens had arranged for 2 powerful enemies. It was like a bucket of cold water had been poured on him. In the cave, Qin Hao wasn't idle either. He kept poking at the stone wall with his finger. He had to improve his golden finger to perfection. Waiting for death wasn't Denda's style. Even if his strength increased, he would be safer. At the same time, his aquaflow steps also needed to be improved. Currently, Qin Hao's aquaflow steps hadn't reached phenomenal success. In the following days, Qin Hao cultivated diligently. Fortunately, the cave was large enough and he had set up many obstacles. Under the obstacle training, his aquaflow steps successfully reached phenomenal success, and his golden finger also reached perfection. Looking at the stone wall that looked like a beehive, Qin Hao had no doubt that the entire cave would collapse if he touched it lightly. After staying for 7 days, it was time to go out. Qin Hao had finished his food and needed to hunt some game. He stuck his head out and made sure that there was no one around. He sensed the aura and didn't sense the presence of the old man and the assassin. Only then did Qin Hao feel relieved and walked out. Boom! A pile of smoke rose behind him. The cave had collapsed. Come on, even if you can't win, I'll make you pay a painful price. Qin Hao suppressed his anger. He was ready to use his golden finger and urgently needed to vent it. Sure, Tainong, what do you mean? What do I mean? It's very simple. I want the goods and I want the assassin. Obediently submit to me, ha ha. Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter in the distance. It wasn't just one person, but a group of people. Qin Hao's eyes suddenly narrowed. Obediently submit to you? The tone was too familiar, but it definitely didn't belong to the old lunatic. The voice was very young. Chapter 38. My name is Li Xiaoyao. Following the voice, Li Xiaoyao carefully came to the place. Looking in the dark, there were 2 groups of people. A group of people was blocking the road. To Qin Hao's surprise, this group of people all had the word lupus embroidered on their chests. It was the lupus mercenary group again. The leader was a young man. He wasn't tall, his face was full of pockmarks, his eyes were small, but his mouth was very big. His thick lips were like sausages. According to the information in the booklet, there was also the name Shi Tai Nong. Qin Hao immediately concluded that this person was the son of the lupus mercenary group's leader. The other group of people was also not ordinary. They were the people from Explosive Flame City's Chamber of Commerce. The one facing Shi Tai Nong was a graceful girl. She was about 17 or 18 years old. Her skin was as white as snow, and her figure was very tall. She was a standard beauty. She was the young miss of the Chamber of Commerce, Yulin Lang. Shi Tai Nong looked at Yulin Lang's curvy figure, his eyes almost spitting fire. Although the Lupus mercenary group was one of the 3 major mercenary groups, their reputation was the worst. They killed people, robbed, and bullied people every day. It wasn't hard to imagine that he was lying in ambush here to rob. This time, not only did he want to rob the U Chamber of Commerce's goods, but also Yu Linlang. That's why there was the saying, just follow him. Do you really want to be enemies with our U Chamber of Commerce? Yu Linlang was very nervous, her hand unconsciously pressed on the hilt of her sword. Falling into Shi Tai Nong's hands would definitely not end well. You Chamber of Commerce, I'm so scared. I'm so scared that my heart disease is acting up again. Everyone saw that it was Yu Linlang who threatened me first. Shi Tai Nong, I defended myself and was forced to fight back. Of course, it's reasonable to lose control and kill a few people, right? Ha ha. Shi Tai Nong laughed unscrupulously. His expression was very arrogant. The group of big men behind him also laughed, although they couldn't experience the beauty of the young miss of the Yu family. However, there were also a lot of maids on the opposite side. They were good-looking and had a kind of fun. Miss, let's fight it out with them. A middle-aged man gnashed his teeth in anger and came to Yu Linlang. Linlang didn't dare to act rashly. This time, the strength of the people accompanying them was not high. Most of them were young maidservants. On the other hand, Shi Tai Nong and the group of people behind him were all at body tempering stage 5. There were also 2 bodyguards who had reached body tempering stage 8 and were about to break through to the gathering yuan state. Yu Linlang had no doubt that if they really fought, it wouldn't even take a cup of tea's time before Quan Quan died in the hands of the Lupus mercenary group. He would even be humiliated by Shi Tai Nong before he died. Thinking of this, cold sweat trickled down his back. How is it? Have you realized it? If you obey me obediently and serve me well, I can still leave you a way out. But, Shi Tai Nong changed the topic. You want to be this young master's wife? No way. You're only fit to be a lowly concubine. Ha ha ha, the men of the Lupus mercenary group burst into laughter. The young miss of the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce was going to be his concubine. Just the thought of it was exciting. Also, your father, that old fart, must have made a lot of money and lived long enough. Why isn't he dead yet? After I take you in, I'll send him to heaven together with you. Then I won't hold back anymore. Shi Tai Nong revealed his vicious nature. His real goal was to take over the entire Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce. Damn it, Yu Linlang's bodyguards couldn't take it anymore. Humph, a bunch of trash. Shi Tai Nong pointed at them and said, As for you guys, you don't even have the right to be my dogs. None of you will live today. You're going too far. A young bodyguard drew his sword and slashed at Shi Tai Nong. He was also the most powerful bodyguard around Yu Linlang at the moment. Since they couldn't live, then they would fight to the death. Wow. Er Kong is attacking. Kill that bastard. Too arrogant. The maids behind Yu Linlang cheered in unison. The bodyguard's name was Fu Er Kong, body tempering stage 6. He was a pretty boy who always showed off his skills to attract the attention of the maids. But today was different, Poochie. Before Fu Er Kang's sword could reach Shi Tai Nong, he was sent flying by a strong man beside him. The long sword was sent into Fu Er Kang's chest. He didn't even make a sound and was sent straight to hell. Boom. The cheers of the maids stopped abruptly. Yu Linlang's face was ashen. Her opponent's attack shocked everyone. Qin Hao, who was hiding in the dark, shook his head slightly. The difference in strength was too big. A body tempering stage 6 against a body tempering stage 8 was simply courting death. Moreover, that strong man wasn't the most powerful bodyguard around Shi Tai Nong. There was another man with a melon-like face who looked like he was at body tempering stage 8. However, Qin Hao knew that he was actually at body tempering stage 9. What should we do? Miss, I'm so scared. Can't we go back? The maids were so anxious that they cried. Only now did they know how powerful Shi Tai Nong was. Ha! Scream all you want. No one will care, even if you scream yourself hoarse. I'll kill anyone who stands in my way. I'm a god. Sure Tai Nong secretly gave a look to the man with a melon-like face on his left. The man with a melon-like face understood and was ready to kill all the bodyguards. The heavens are blind. Do I really have to die here? Someone save us. Yulin Lang let out a mournful cry. The bodyguards had completely lost their will to fight. Even the most powerful Fu Erkong had been killed. Get your weapons! Sure Tai Nong yelled. The men from the wolf mercenary group moved. Qin Hao, who was hiding in the dark, was about to help. Wait! At this moment, a childish voice suddenly sounded. The voice was very tender. Sure Tai Nong frowned. There was really someone who dared to meddle in other people's business. In an instant, everyone looked towards the direction of the voice. When they saw it, they shuddered at the same time. In the distance, on a giant tree that was 50 meters tall, a child of about 10 years old stood with his arms crossed against the wind. He had red lips and white teeth. His face was pink and his big eyes looked very smart. The scary thing was that he was standing at such a high place. It was so dangerous. The wind was howling and he was standing on a small branch. This was quite scary. Could it be that he was unfathomable? Or was he a fool? However, Sure Tai Nong was more willing to believe the former. As the young leader of the wolf mercenary group, he often saw some experts around his father. Those experts even had a little disciple. Those little disciples were all extraordinary and powerful. Who is it? Sure Tai Nong asked cautiously. Hero. Li. Xiao. Yao. The little boy said word by word. At the same time, the corner of his mouth slowly curved up. So cute! When he grows up, he will definitely be a handsome guy. We're saved. The maids beside Yulin Lang cried tears of joy and excitedly hugged each other. At this moment, Qin Hao also looked at the little boy suspiciously. With Denda's eyesight, he actually couldn't see through the other party's aura. This meant two things. First, that kid was an ordinary person. Second, he was a monster. At the very least, he had reached the Yuan Master realm. Qin Hao decided to wait and see. Little hero, are you here to save us? Yulin Lang shouted loudly. She was very excited, as if she was grabbing onto a life-saving straw. At the same time, Sure Tai Nong's heart was also in his throat. If this little boy of unknown origin wanted to interfere, it would indeed be quite troublesome. That's right. Eliminating violence and protecting the good, punishing evil and promoting good. This is the demeanor of a hero of my generation. Little sister, don't be afraid. Wait for this young hero to destroy this group of gangsters. After the little boy finished speaking, he jumped down from a height of 50 meters. This frightened the members of the wolf mercenary group. Which family's child would dare to jump from such a high place unless he was extremely powerful? Otherwise, he would definitely die. Sure Tai Nong was so scared that his face turned green. If it wasn't for the fact that there was a wax-gored face by his side, he would have run away long ago. Boom! The little boy landed on the ground. However, it didn't land as lightly as expected. Instead, he plunged headfirst into the ground. His entire head was buried in the soil. Chapter 39. The long-lost elder brother. Yulinlong's face was as ugly as it could get. The contrast was too big. Just now, he threatened to kill the gangsters, but the next moment, he fell to his death. It seemed that this time, it was hard to escape. Along the way, a little life was lost. Who knew which family this little boy belonged to? Why did he come out if he didn't have the ability? Qin Hao, who was in the dark, was also speechless. He understood that this little boy was just an ordinary person and didn't hide his strength. If he really had the ability, he would have exposed a flaw if he wanted to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. However, when the little boy jumped down, his movements were very stiff, and there was no trace of cultivation at all. However, there was one thing that surprised Qin Hao. The little boy was still alive, almost unscathed. There was indeed something extraordinary about him. You scared me, I thought it was a tough guy, but it turned out to be a retard. Ha ha ha. Shi Tainong's nervous mood was swept away. He put his hands on his waist and raised his head to laugh like an idiot. What did you say? An angry voice sounded. It was the little boy who shouted. He wasn't dead yet. Everyone was shocked and turned their head to look. They saw the little boy's hands pressed on the ground, sticking out his butt, and pulling his head out like pulling a radish. After exerting all his strength, he finally pulled his head out. He ran to Shi Tainong with his face covered in dirt, pointed at his nose and scolded. Who are you calling a retard? You're the retard, right? You're so ugly, why did you come out in broad daylight? What if you scare the children? With a face full of pockmarks and a smile like a ghost, why didn't your father strangle you to death? Shi Tainong stood in place, stunned by the little boy's scolding. The next moment, his face twisted together, the little boy had hit his sore spot. It was because Shi Tainong was ugly, he couldn't find a wife, and his mentality gradually became distorted. You're still not convinced, right? I'm so good-looking, are you as white as me? Are you as cute as me? Are you as big as my eyes? Stupid like a pig, you're definitely not as smart as me. Under my handsome appearance, don't you feel inferior? Why don't you feel ashamed? You should kill yourself immediately, so as not to dirty my hands. The little boy almost jumped up and scolded. Damn, bastard, Shi Tainong's face turned red from the scolding. Humiliation. It was a great humiliation. As the young leader of the Lupus mercenary group, he was scolded by a child without any strength to retort. Good, good, good. You're fairer than me, smarter than me, and have bigger eyes than me. Then I'll peel off your skin, chop off your head, and dig out your eyes. Kill him. Shi Tainong did not care about men or women, old or young. He directly ordered his men to kill them. Die. A burly man madly rushed over, raising his bowl-sized fist. The strength of a fifth-stage body-tempering realm cultivator unreservedly smashed towards the little boy. When they saw this scene, the members of the Yu clan's Chamber of Commerce closed their eyes tightly. They couldn't bear to watch the bloody scene. At first, everyone was happy for the little boy because he didn't die from the fall. This time, he would definitely die. Because he had no strength at all. This was indeed the case. He saw a brawny man dashing out from the opposite side. He was as ferocious as a tiger. The little boy was so scared that his face turned pale. He even forgot to run away and directly covered his eyes with his hand. That fist was getting closer and closer to his little head. The brawny man's face was ferocious. He was very happy to kill a defenseless child, because he would receive Shi Tainong's reward. Thinking of this, his attack became even more vicious. He was determined to smash the little boy's head into a rotten watermelon. Whoosh! A figure flashed out from the forest. Just as the fist was about to hit the little boy, it was firmly caught by a strong hand. Qin Hao made his move. Who is it? The brawny man was very surprised. A young man suddenly appeared in front of him. His speed was unbelievably fast. Li Xiao Yao. Qin Hao imitated the little boy and said one word at a time. At the same time, he used his fingers to flick the hair in front of his forehead. Boom! The members of the Yu clan's Chamber of Commerce were shocked. Another Li Xiao Yao appeared. He blocked the Lupus mercenary group with one move. Moreover, this young man looked more reliable than the little boy. Although he still looked young, his body was strong and powerful. His temperament was extraordinary, and his appearance was very handsome. The maids behind Yu Lin Lang all had peach blossom eyes. Even Yu Lin Lang herself inexplicably trembled a little. Qin Hao's appearance was indeed very handsome. I'm not dead yet? A childish voice sounded. The little boy opened his eyes. Boom. His body stiffened as he saw Qin Hao beside him. He looked up, so tall. So much taller than him. So white. As white as him. So handsome. His face was handsome and angular. So handsome. With a ponytail on top of his head and 2 strands of hair floating in front of his forehead, he was simply too handsome. Even his eyes were so sharp. Idle. At this moment, the little boy was so excited that his body was trembling. It was as if he saw the hero of his dreams. Hey little brother, don't hug me so tightly. Qin Hao pondered for a moment. Wow. Even his voice was so nice. My long-lost brother. The little boy wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth. Only then did he realize that in this crisis, he had unconsciously hugged Qin Hao's waist. He quickly let go of his hand. Hey, the pockmarked face on the opposite side, this is my big brother. Why don't you get over here and beg for mercy, then slap yourself 1,000 times? The little boy proudly raised his head. He was full of confidence because he had Qin Hao's support. Strange things happen every year, but this year there are especially many. Damn it, there are 2 Li Xiaoyao. One is a retard and the other is a retard. The world is too crazy. Others are in a hurry to rob money, but they are in a hurry to die. Gooden, cripple him. Shi Tainong didn't even look at Qin Hao. He waved his hand and asked the man to kill Qin Hao. He wasted too much time and couldn't wait to play with Yu Linlang. Who the hell are you? The man named Gooden wasn't stupid and asked nervously again. Qin Hao's hand was very strong. It was like a big iron clamp, grabbing his fist until it hurt. The person who will kill you. Qin Hao twisted his hand. Crack. Gooden's arm was twisted into a fried dough twist. He screamed in pain. The dragon-breaking bone hand broke the tendons and bones. Qin Hao casually threw him away. Eggface turned into a blur as he flew far away. He flew for over 10 meters before crashing into a mountain wall. A bloody hole appeared in his head, and he couldn't be any more dead than he was. What? So strong! This, Qin Hao made a move. Both sides were shocked. Big brother, accept me as your little brother. The little boy was deeply shocked by Qin Hao's performance. This was the hero in his heart. His movements were relaxed and incomparably elegant. Little brother, don't be afraid. Let me destroy this group of villains first. Qin Hao killed a 5th stage body tempering stage 5 with 1 blow, but he didn't dare to be careless. There was still a 9th stage body tempering stage 9 on the opposite side, enough to threaten his life. Okay. The little boy was very obedient and obediently took a few steps back. At the same time, he made a gesture to Yu Linlang, which meant, with my big brother here, you can rest assured. Yu Linlang didn't relax because of this. On the contrary, she became more serious. Qin Hao killed the Lupus mercenary group's people, which would definitely anger Shi Tainong. This young man was too young, even younger than himself. He definitely couldn't be that strong. Such a handsome young master died in Shi Tainong's hands. The heavens must be blind. It was his fault for being so nosy. He should have hidden away just now. So you have some skills. Get a few more people and cripple him. Shi Tainong still didn't take Qin Hao seriously. Since one person couldn't kill him, then 2, 3, 4 anyway there were many people behind him. He would be surrounded. No. At this time, the melon-faced man of the Lupus mercenary group said, "Da who you go." No matter how many people came, it was useless. Qin Hao killed Gooden, who was a 5th stage body tempering stage 5 in 1 blow. This meant that his strength was at the 6th stage body tempering stage 6, or even higher. He was similar to Fu Erkong. Chapter 40. Did I let you go? Kid, I'll give you 2 choices. Cripple your own arms and legs, kneel down and call me master 3 times. Maybe I'll consider sparing your life if I'm happy. Or I'll stab you to death. Da Hu grinned as he walked over. He deliberately waved his ghostly sword in front of Qin Hao's nose. The Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce sucked in a breath of cold air. That terrifying guy had appeared again. He was the one who killed Fu Erkong with a single stab. He was like an unshakable mountain, giving off a heavy sense of oppression. Fear flashed across Yu Linlong's face as her hands trembled. Perhaps Qin Hao would also be stabbed to death in the next moment. The Lupus mercenary group laughed in relief. When Master Hu made his move, nothing would go wrong. Many of them even gave Qin Hao advice. After all, it was an honor to be able to survive in the hands of Master Hu. Hey, kid, hurry up and cripple your own arms and legs. Kneel down and kowtow. As long as our Master Hu is happy, you can go back alive. Ah! Humiliating insults came from the opposite side. Qin Hao stood in the same place, unmoved. He stared coldly at Da Hu in front of him. It was fine if he didn't move, but if he did, he would kill him in one strike. At this time, the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce behind him began to shake their heads and sigh. That kid is really lucky. If it were me, I would definitely kneel down and kowtow. A bad life is better than a good death. Hey, little brother, do as he says. It's not shameful to kowtow. A real man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. Many people advise Qin how to lower his head and kneel down. Don't miss the chance to live. Even Yu Linlong's mouth twitched. She wanted to say something but didn't. She was afraid that she would hurt Qin Hao's self-esteem. That young master really shouldn't have died here. What a pity. Nonsense, how can my big brother kneel down and kowtow to others? You guys are really spineless. The little boy protested loudly. However, he seemed to feel that Da Hu was not easy to deal with. With tears of unwillingness in his eyes, he looked at Qin Hao with pleading eyes as if to say, "Big brother, you definitely won't kneel down, right?" Qin Hao's mouth slowly raised. He raised his hand and stretched out 3 fingers. He's still smiling at death's door. He must be scared silly. The Lupus mercenary group were baffled. Are you going to kowtow to me? Da Hu asked. No. Qin Hao spoke. I'll give you a chance to live. 1. Cripple your own limbs. Master, 3 times master. 3. Get out of here. He wants me to cripple my own limbs. He even asked me to kneel before him. Master. Ha 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 ha. The members of the Lupus mercenary group held their stomachs and laughed wildly. They laughed until their mouths were full of saliva. They really overestimated themselves. Master Hu see that kid Master Hu really the people of the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce looked at each other with bitter expressions. Qin Hao would definitely not have a good ending for provoking Da Hu like this. He was really reckless. How dare you, kid? Now I've changed my mind. Not only do you have to kowtow to me, but you also have to crawl under my pants. F***ck your mother's bullsh***t. Without waiting for Qin Hao to speak, the little boy rushed up in anger. He could insult him, but he couldn't insult Qin Hao. Qin Hao was his idol. Tsk. Little trash, you're courting death. Big Tiger spat out a mouthful of saliva and swung his heavy saber at the little boy. You're the one who's going to die. Qin Hao moved as well. His golden finger was ready to be unleashed, and he swiped at Big Tiger's neck. You've been fooled. Da Hu suddenly turned around. The sword that was originally aimed at the little boy was now aimed at Qin Hao's chest. Qin Hao rushed forward. He couldn't stop. At this moment, it was as if he was using his body to hit the tip of the sword. Poochie! The dark heavy sword penetrated Qin Hao's chest without any hindrance. At this moment, everyone held their breaths. Sure enough, Qin Hao was still dead. No way, how could my big brother be defeated? The little boy was absent-minded. Then, he burst into tears. He understood that he had implicated Qin Hao. If he hadn't rushed up, his big brother wouldn't have died under the enemy's sword. Qin Hao was trying to save him. Idiot dodge! At this time, the melon-faced man of the lupus mercenary group shouted anxiously. Even Sure Tainong was stunned. I said, "You're the one who's going to die." Qin Hao's voice rang in his ears. Whoosh! A green figure flashed in front of him like a gust of wind. How could it be? De Hu's eyes widened in horror. Only then did he realize that the sword that was inserted into Qin Hao's chest didn't spurt out blood. In front of him was an afterimage. Whoosh! A fountain of blood burst out from De Hu's neck. De Hu wanted to look back at Qin Hao, but before he could turn his neck, he fell to the ground unwillingly. Until his death, he still couldn't figure out how Qin Hao had attacked. Only that pair of frightened eyes seemed to say that he had just seen a very frightening scene. Silence. Dead silence. At this moment, the scene was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. Only the sound of heavy breathing and heartbeat could be heard. The situation had suddenly changed. Qin Hao, who wasn't thought highly of, had actually shattered the mountain that was weighing on everyone's heads. Moreover, he had only used one attack. No one saw how he had attacked. Only the melon-faced man secretly clenched his fist. His face was covered in cold sweat. Although Qin Hao's movements were fast, he could still see it clearly with his eyesight of body tempering stage 9. When Qin Hao attacked, his strength, speed, and explosive power increased sharply in an instant. His aura suppressed body tempering stage 8 and approached body tempering stage 9. Especially his movement technique, which was unbelievably fast. He easily dodged the tip of De Hu's sword. It must be an extraordinary origin skill. There was also that terrifying finger. It was as sharp as a treasure sword, and did not leave a mark when it passed. It was only when De Hu's afterimage dissipated that the pierced artery in his neck ruptured and he spat out blood. At that thought, the melon-faced man secretly compared himself. If he were to go against Qin Hao, he would not be able to escape unscathed. This young man was too scary. Can anyone tell me what happened? Why is De Hu lying on the ground? Sure Tainong asked foolishly. Boom. The scene was in an uproar. Dead. Master Hu was dead. He was killed by a 15 or 16-year-old boy. That boy only used one attack. Boom. The people of the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce were also shocked. The situation that was originally doomed had a huge reversal with Qin Hao's unexpected intervention. That terrifying body tempering stage 8 was killed with one attack. Oh my God! How old was that young master? He looked so young and yet so powerful. They were saved today. At that moment, many people cried to the sky. They had narrowly escaped death. Young master is amazing. Are you engaged or not? What do you think of my appearance? My skin is so white. The young maidservants behind Yu Linlang swarmed forward and ran towards Qin Hao, surrounding him tightly in the middle. This young master was really likable. Yu Linlang hesitated for a moment before walking toward Qin Hao with a smile. The situation was set. Qin Hao had effortlessly resolved the crisis. The strong should be respected. Especially since Qin Hao was so young and had a bright future. Who knew what kind of power was behind him? She had to build a good relationship with him. Even if she had to devote herself to him. Yu Linlang, who had always been known as an ice beauty, actually blushed at that thought. Handsome, so cool. As expected of my big brother. Looking at Qin Hao, who was surrounded by so many beauties, the young boy's eyes shone. Qin Hao was stronger and more handsome than he had imagined. He could still be so calm when surrounded by beauties. He was really a role model for his generation, a role model to learn from. He had decided on this big brother. Friend, today was a misunderstanding. Since we've talked it out, let's meet another day. At that moment, the strongest person, Winter Gourd Face, didn't take revenge for Tiger. Instead, he retreated. Sure Tainong frowned. It was hard to imagine that Winter Gourd Face would be afraid of someone, especially a young man. This was the first time he had seen Winter-Gourd face cower. Looking at Yu Linlong's full figure again, Shi Tainong snorted unwillingly. You guys are lucky, and Li Xiaoyao, let's wait and see. The future was long. There were many experts in the Lupus mercenary group. At worst, he could ask the elders to kill this person. Did I say you guys could leave? Chapter 41. One-hit kill. Things are clear? I haven't even said it yet. That's right, I said it with my fist. If it wasn't for my fist, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to talk it out. Friend, don't push your luck. If you anger our Lupus mercenary group, you'll die. Winter Melon Face threatened, hoping that Qin Hao would back off. You dog, you must be tired of living. Do you know who I am? I'm the young leader of the Lupus mercenary group. Do you know who my father is? He's the leader of the Lupus mercenary group. Offending me is the same as offending my father. Offending my father is the same as offending the entire Lupus mercenary group, and Shi Tainong pointed to the melon-faced man next to him. This is Gui Jianchou, whose name shook Heaven's Wall City 20 years ago. What? He's Gui Jianchou? Hearing Shi Tainong say that Winter Melon Face was Gui Jianchou, the faces of the Yu Clan merchant group changed. You don't know how powerful Gui Jianchou is. If I tell you, you'll be scared out of your wits. 18 years ago, Gui Jianchou was the one who massacred a family of 20 people. Even the little girl wasn't spared. 16 years ago, Mulberry Leaf Village's Li family's young miss was raped in the middle of the night. You know what I mean. The Li family didn't even dare to fart because the one who did it was Gui Jianchou. Also, Shi Tainong was so excited that he kept talking. Half a year ago, the Exploding Flame City's pig abuse case was also because Gui Jianchou was drunk. Ha ha! Gui Jianchou even dares to play with pigs. Why would he be afraid of you? Cough cough. Young leader, the truth is that the pig abuse case wasn't done by me. It was done by Big Tiger. Winter Melon Face said awkwardly. So that's how it is. I knew your taste wasn't that bad. Anyway, do you dog understand? I have a good father and a group of good subordinates. If I want you to die at midnight, you won't live until dawn. Are you afraid? Shi Tainong came in front of Qin Hao and said arrogantly. You even play with pigs, your Lupus mercenary group is really scary. Qin Hao sneered, his words were full of disdain. From this, it could be seen that the members of the Lupus mercenary group were all outlaws. They had committed heinous crimes and deserved to be cut into pieces. Since you're scared, why don't you kneel down and beg for mercy? Crawl under my crotch and provoke the Lupus mercenary group. You're in big trouble. Shi Tainong was arrogant and domineering. He had long forgotten that Qin Hao had extraordinary strength. Yes, I did get into big trouble. In fact, not only did I get into trouble, I even killed one of your people half a month ago. I think his name was Zhou Batong or something. Qin Hao didn't plan to hold back. He was going to fight the Lupus mercenary group this morning. Today, none of them would be able to escape. You. Wow, so you are Bai Zihua. Elder Zhou Shintong has been trying to capture you for many days. He is just nearby. Your time of death has come, ha ha. Shi Tainong's eyes lit up as if he had caught a fat sheep. He didn't know that the person standing in front of him was Qin Hao, a ferocious wolf. Moreover, the two of them were so close. Whether it's my time of death or not, I don't know. Now, your time of death has come. Qin Hao suddenly made his move. Young leader, be careful. Things had developed to a point of no return. Wax Gourd Face could only accept the challenge. Shi Tainong stood in place in a daze. He had already revealed his identity, as well as his father's identity. But, the kid in front of him still dared to resist? Why didn't he just stand there obediently and let himself be killed? Kill him! Skin him alive and pull out his tendons. After a short moment of absent-mindedness, Sure Tainong felt that his face had been trampled. He ordered everyone to besiege Qin Hao. They must crush this kid's bones and scatter his ashes. You guys have no loyalty. My brother is fighting for you, but you want him to be alone. What are you all doing? Seeing that Qin Hao was besieged, the little boy didn't want to fall behind. He shouted at the guards of the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce. He picked up a stone from the ground and rushed forward. Kill! Yu Linlang rebuked. Now that they were incompatible with the Lupus mercenaries, there was no way to retreat. Today it was either you die or I die. She immediately drew her sword. Kill! The remaining 7 or 8 guards of the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce also drew their swords. Although they were afraid of Wax-Gored Face's strength and couldn't help Qin Hao, they could at least block some of the minions. They hoped that the boy could successfully kill Wax-Gored Face. Everything depended on him, although the chances were not great. However, in fact, the battle ended faster than everyone expected. Much faster. After Qin Hao and Wax-Gored Face's move, the winner was immediately decided. No, it was a battle of life and death. Qin Hao condensed Golden Finger and attacked Sure Tainong's heart. Sure Tainong was so scared that he wailed like a ghost and howled like a wolf. The wax-gored-faced man kicked Sure Tainong from behind. Like a tortoise's shell, Sure Tainong rolled far away. He didn't care how much strength he exerted. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? I don't want to get hurt and ruin my wisdom. Since you're so determined to die, then die. With a roar, Wax-Gored Face fished out a heavy hammer from his shoulder and smashed it toward Qin Hao's head. In his opinion, with the strength of a body tempering stage 9 and a heavy hammer that weighed 500 kilograms, Qin Hao using his finger to touch the hammer was like throwing an egg at a rock, seeking his own death. He was already imagining the scene of Qin Hao's head being smashed. However, Qin Hao's mouth flashed a sneer. Just as his finger was about to touch the hammer, a purple light burst out from his finger, like the tail of a scorpion. Under the guidance of his mind, he directly took out the purple meteorite sword from the spatial ring transformed by the Great Void Cauldron. Swish! A purple light flashed in front of his eyes. Fast. Unbelievably fast. Wax-Gored Face swore that he had never seen such a fast sword in his life. It was simply not something a human could perform. It was like a divine skill. What a fast sword! He couldn't help but praise. The hammer in Wax-Gored Face's hand broke into 2 pieces. Dark red blood appeared on his face as he fell straight to the ground. Before he died, he regretted it. He regretted making an enemy out of Qin Hao. The other party had a legendary spatial artifact in his hand. That was something only disciples of large clans were worthy of. Qin Hao was an existence that couldn't be provoked. The entire Lupus mercenary group was finished. What? This Master Ghost is dead. By a nobody, with just 1 hit. At this moment, whether it was the Lupus mercenary group or the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce, everyone's jaws dropped. They had just lifted their feet, but before they even touched each other, they were already stuck in place with their weapons raised. Silence. The scene fell silent again. The originally hot-blooded scene was as silent as hell as Wax-Gored Face fell to the ground. Qin Hao was no doubt the Grim Reaper who walked out of hell. He was once a heinous criminal, but now, he had been killed with a single blow. And the one who did it was a teenager. Heavens! Was he in the gathering element state? Wax-Gored Face was in the body tempering stage 9, but he was still defeated with 1 hit. At this moment, Yu Linlang looked at Qin Hao with a fanatical gaze, as if she couldn't wait to swallow him into her eyes. A 16-year-old in the gathering element state, how monstrous was he? After all, the number 1 master in Explosive Flame City was only in the peak of the gathering element state, but he was already over 40. Qin Hao was so young, but his potential was so great. In the future, he would definitely surpass the #1 master in Explosive Flame City and dominate a region. This made Yu Linlang even more determined to marry Qin Hao, even if she had to use the entire Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce as her dowry. Chapter 42. Chapter 42. I am gonna kill you. Qin Hao stood where he was, gasping for breath. His face was slightly pale. In fact, the exchange of blows in that instant was far from as easy as it appeared to be. The golden finger was used to paralyze his opponent, making him think that Qin Hao would poke the sledgehammer with his finger. Then, he took out the purple meteorite sword from his spatial ring, which surprised the man quite a bit. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Qin Hao used his heaven-grade sword technique, Graceful Sword. It was precisely because of this that his face was pale and he was panting heavily. As his cultivation rose, he no longer felt dizzy like the first time he used it. However, it also consumed a lot of energy. It was pure luck that he was able to kill the body-tempering Stage 9 cultivator with a single strike. Otherwise, Qin Hao admitted that he was no match for him in a direct confrontation. But things weren't over yet. Qin Hao looked at Shi Taisong coldly and walked over. You can't kill me. Do you know who I am? Shi Taichung's eyes were filled with fear as he kept retreating. Bang! Qin Hao punched him to the ground, as if he was looking at an ant. I know you're the young leader of the Lupus mercenaries. Offending me means offending my father. My father is… Bang! Qin Hao raised his foot and stepped on Tai Nong's head. He said coldly, I also know that your father is the leader of the Lupus mercenary group. I still have a group of powerful subordinates. Bang! Unfortunately, they're not here. You'll die a horrible death for offending the Lupus mercenary group. You won't be able to see how I die. How you will die is up to me. Qin Hao coldly snorted. Hey! Look, there's a meteor in the sky. Shi Tainong raised his blood-stained face, raised his hand to the sky, and said something that didn't make sense. Everyone, including Yu Linlang, looked at the sky at the same time. However, Qin Hao didn't even move his neck. He stared at Shi Tainong with a gaze that made people despair. In fact, there was one more person who didn't move. There are shooting stars in the sky. Are you trying to fool a child? The little boy spat out a mouthful of saliva. This was a trick he had played before. Enough of your nonsense. Go to hell. Qin Hao raised his foot once more, but he didn't immediately put it down. Let me tell you one last truth. As a person, you have to rely on yourself. No, you can't. Crack. Qin Hao stepped on Tai Nong's neck and broke it, ending this sinful life. No one would have thought that Isha, who used to bully people in the exploding flame city, would die at the feet of a young man. Even if you have a good father, no matter how powerful you are, even if you have a bunch of lackeys, Qin Hao proved it with his actions. When you're in trouble, you can only rely on yourself. Dead. Young commander is dead. That guy is a lunatic. Doesn't he know how annoying our leader is? The members of the Lupus mercenary group were terrified at first, then their faces were filled with disbelief. Qin Hao really dared to kill Shi Tainong. At this moment, he didn't notice that they were about to die. What are you waiting for? After being bullied for so long, don't you have any courage? Qin Hao looked at the guards of the Yu Clan Chamber of Commerce. His meaning was clear. Leave the rest to them. Kill. Yu Linlang suddenly came to her senses and rushed forward with her sword. She actually had the strength of a body-tempering Stage 6. She rushed into the crowd and brought about a reign of terror. Kill. The guards' fighting spirit soared. As long as Qin Hao was present, they felt that they were invincible. The little boy didn't stay idle either. He picked up a wooden stick and aimed it at the crotch and back of others. Even if they were in danger, Qin Hao would throw out a stone to resolve the danger. Soon, the remaining members of the Lupus mercenary group were all in hell. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, you must be ruthless to your enemies. You can't survive with mercy. I, Yulinlang, was ordered by my father to transport goods. Unexpectedly, I was ambushed by a despicable person like Shirtainong. Fortunately, young master helped me. I'm really grateful. Yulinlang came to Qin Hao's side and bowed in front of everyone. This action stunned the guards. Was she still their young miss when she lowered her status like this? Eldest Miss Yu's words are too serious. Getting rid of violence and pacifying the good, punishing the evil and upholding the good, is the demeanor of our generation of heroes. It's just a slight effort, not worth mentioning. Qin Hao brought out the words of the little Shota and said very gracefully. Yulinlang blushed. Not only was the young master in front of her powerful, but he was also righteous. He was a good choice for a husband. However, why did he have to strip the corpse of a dead person? Yulinlang saw the righteous Qin Hao rummaging through Shirtainong's body. After taking out some banknotes, he went to strip the melon-faced man's body. She shook her head. This young master was so frugal and knew how to live his life. He would be a good husband. Even the way he stripped the corpse was different from others. His movements were so handsome. Actually, young masterly, you don't have to work so hard. You're strong. As long as you come back with me, I'll... Yulinlang quickly turned away. She was so embarrassed that her neck was red. She could not continue. However, the meaning was obvious. As long as Qin Hao was willing to go with her, she would take care of Qin Hao in the future. Boom. The guards were shocked. The young miss, who was usually cold, actually had such a fiery side. At this moment, many people looked at Qin Hao with admiration. Only such a genius young man was worthy of the young Mississippi boom. Little Jing Tian was also shocked. Strong. Big Brother was indeed Big Brother. He won the beauty's heart as soon as he made a move. He was really a role model for their generation. A role model to learn from. This. I'm afraid it's not good. Qin Hao did not have the habit of being a gigolo. Very good. I can see that you're not a local. Our Yu family has a big business. It's not a problem to support young master. Yulinlang was so embarrassed that she covered her face with her hands. At this point, even a fool could tell what she was thinking. Qin Hao would definitely understand. That. In fact, I'm really not a local. Young master, you don't have to say too much. To be honest, my father only has one daughter. Now that he's old, there's no one to inherit the family property. I'm a woman. With young master's strength and character, my father will definitely be satisfied. Yulinlang's voice was as soft as a mosquito. Her heart was beating very fast, as if there was a hammer hammering in her heart. How embarrassing! Did he still not understand? Why didn't he nod and agree? He must have been dazzled by happiness. He must be looking at her passionately from behind. Would he be so excited that he hugged her? She turned a few rounds on the spot. Should she cooperate with him to resist? So embarrassing. That. Young Miss Yu, look. There's a meteor in the sky. Qin Hao was forced to point to the sky helplessly. Where's the meteor? Yulinlang hurriedly looked at the sky. It was just right to make a wish. How many children should she have with young master? 1? No. Too few. 2 then. Just a boy and a girl. But there's no meteor. Young master. Yulinlang turned around. Whoosh. A gust of cold wind blew over. There was nothing in front of her. Qin Hao actually ran away. Ran away. Ran away. How could he run away? Young miss, we should be on our way. A middle-aged guard walked over and said, Where did young masterly go? Tell me. Yulinlang looked at the middle-aged guard coldly. Her gaze was murderous. Young hero, he went into the mountains. The middle-aged man hurriedly pointed to the inner layer of explosive flame mountain. What? Yulinlang's face was full of shock and worry. He's alone. How could he go to such a dangerous place? What if he gets injured? Should I send someone to protect him? Looking at the anxious young miss, the middle-aged man was also speechless. Chapter 43. Translator, Transin Editor, Transin life on the line. Even after Qin Hao had left, the guards were still talking about him. They admired him from the bottom of their hearts. It would not be easy to go deeper into the volcanic mountain. The Yu caravan was attacked in the outer area of the volcanic mountain, where the level of the beasts was relatively low. Moreover, hunters often visited this area, and the beasts were almost all killed, so it was relatively safe. If they went further, they would reach the innermost area of the outer area. It was very dangerous, with level 7 and level 8 beasts roaming everywhere and level 9 beasts. Qin Hao went alone, and his courage was admirable. As long as I pass through the outer area, I will be able to sense the exact location of the Red Lotus. Qin Hao's eyes were firm, without a trace of fear. The purpose of his visit was to retrieve the Red Lotus fire that he had lost. With his current strength, he could easily defeat a level 8 body tempering stage 8. If he encountered a level 9 beast, even if he could not defeat it, it would be too easy for him to escape with the wind and water step. Fortunately, the Red Lotus fire was between the outer area and the inner area of the volcanic mountain. As long as he did not step into the inner area, he would not encounter any beasts above the level of the beast. You've been following me for so long, come out. Qin Hao's footsteps suddenly stopped as he coldly snorted. After separating from Yulin Lang, someone had been following him, and Qin Hao knew who it was. Big brother is indeed big brother, so alert. My admiration for you is as endless as the Yellow River, a voice sounded, and a little boy came out from the bushes with a cheeky smile. Cut the crap, who are you? What's your purpose for following me? Qin Hao turned around indifferently, not believing that the little boy in front of him was called Li Xiaoyao. Big brother, I'm not a bad guy. My name is Xiaogua, and I admire you a lot. You're chic, you're flirtatious, your every move and look deeply attracted to me, even your hairstyle is so handsome, accept me as your little brother. Xiaogua said with a face full of admiration. Qin Hao slowly exhaled, so he was a fan. Although Qin Hao had countless fans in his previous life, this was the first one in this life. However, she didn't have time to play with him. I'm not your big brother, so don't follow me anymore. Qin Hao turned around and continued walking. A hint of disappointment flashed across Xiaogua's face. He gritted his teeth and chased after him. I don't care. You can refuse to acknowledge me, but you can't resist the worship of others. You are my big brother. Qin Hao ignored him. The child was just playful. If she gave him the cold shoulder, he wouldn't follow her anymore. Big brother, do you know? You were truly too formidable just now. You beat that group of villains into a sorry state. The fellows from the Jade Merchant Association were all dumbfounded. My admiration for you. Noisy. Qin Hao muttered to himself and interrupted the other party. Xiaogua swallowed his saliva. Fear flashed in his eyes, but he still refused to back down. Those maidservants are head over heels for Big Brother. Even the eldest daughter of the Yu family can't control herself and wants to throw herself at Big Brother. Big Brother is trapped in a field of flowers, but not a single leaf touches you. Your spirit is commendable. Xiaogua wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth. I've always had a dream. I want to travel the entire continent. I want my handsome figure to go to every corner, punishing evil and promoting good. My name will be known for eternity. Big Brother is my role model. Take me as your little brother. You're very annoying, do you know that? Qin Hao suddenly turned around, his gaze as cold as a sword. I'm warning you, don't follow me anymore. It's very dangerous ahead. If you don't want to die, hurry up and go back. Qin Hao was telling the truth. If they continued forward, they would reach the innermost layer of the outer periphery of explosive volcano. There were at least Class 7 dire beasts inside, and they could even vaguely hear the roars of beasts. In order to retrieve the red lotus fire, Qin Hao would inevitably have to go through some fierce battles. He did not want to bring a child along as a burden. "I'm not a coward," Xiaogua shouted loudly. Perhaps it was a blow to his heart. He chased after Qin Hao's back again. "I know you despise me and think I'm not worthy of being your little brother. But to tell you the truth, I'm a disciple of a big sect, and I'm the last disciple of the sect leader. My master loves me very much. It has nothing to do with me," Qin Hao said coldly. "Big brother, why do you have to keep people 1,000 miles away? I won't embarrass you." Xiaogua struggled for a moment before he finally gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'll tell you my biggest secret. If it weren't for my divine arts being sealed, I wouldn't have needed Big Brother's help. I could have wiped out Shi Tainong's men alone." Hearing this, Qin Hao stopped in his tracks. Xiaogua's heart skipped a beat. "Oh no, Big Brother isn't jealous, right? Could it be that he's moved by my ability? Wants to take me in as a little brother?" Emboldening himself, Xiaogua continued, "I have extraordinary talent. I have an acupuncture point on my body. If I encounter danger, I just need to press it and I can activate my true power. Of course, I won't do that unless I have no other choice." Qin Hao did not reply, but his body trembled slightly. Xiaogua was overjoyed. It seemed that Big Brother was really shocked. "I've secretly done a comparison. If the seal is removed, Big Brother might not be my match." At this point, Xiaogua's face was full of pride. In order to take Qin Hao's face into consideration, he spoke very conservatively. Xiaogua remembered very clearly that his old master had said that once the seal was removed, Xiaogua would be invincible among those in the gathering Yuan state. With Qin Hao's current ability,